Yeah.
Presented by FYF Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, John Luke Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, aka Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Andrew Cooper. Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good morning.
Dude, it's going great. How are you? Simon? I feel like no one ever really asked how you're doing on the show. How are you doing this morning?
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm doing great, Coop. Thank you so much. The reason nobody asks is because it doesn't matter how I'm doing, Coop. It just doesn't really have any effect whether I'm good or bad. We're just going to keep on rolling. But today,
Amen.
I'm good.
Yeah. Everybody out there,
good.
you know, when you get on the train, when you get on the bus, ask the conductor, ask the driver how they're doing. No one ever pops in and asks the Simons of the world. They keep the trains on the tracks, how they're doing, you know, and I can see that twinkle in your eye now, Simon, now that you've been acknowledged. So I feel like we're going to have a good show.
I'm going to be real with you. No matter what, if you asked me at 1 hour into the show, I'm always good. Just not always right at the beginning. Yeah. But today we're starting good, and you guys raised my spirit, so we're going to finish even better.
Oh, that's good.
We got Tommy in the chat saying, I made it first. As you can see, Maria and Mama G got nothing on me.
Oh, he was sitting there like, come on.
Dude, now he's serving people, bro. No, he probably wrote that one yesterday, had it copy and paste ready. now it's a Wild West game, baby.
Now it's a Wild
Quick
West
draw.
game. And actually, Maria did beat Tommy in the chat, just in the FYF chat.
In the YouTube chat, which, you know,
you're wrecked. That's
fine. That's cool and all. But if you really want to support the gang, get up in the Better Sports app, download Better Sports, BETTOR, smash that fun button, and join the family over here. Producer
Keith in here saying first. Yep, you got it, Keith. Sorry, Tommy, you didn't say first, so it doesn't count. Keith's got it on that side of the application. Guys, it is time to run into the news this morning. So guys, everyone listening, I hope you brought your breakfast. We brought the stories. We brought the topics we need to talk about. You guys have to bring your own breakfast. John Luke, did you bring anything for us this morning?
Oh, you know I did. Like I do every morning. Boys, Raiders running back Josh Jacobs is not expected to practice much, if at all, this week because of a calf strain per sources. He'll get around the clock treatment in hopes of playing Sunday against the Chargers. This one comes from Tom Pelissero. Pretty interesting. Josh Jacobs has been carrying a lot of people to their fantasy playoffs this year. You're going to have to be without him this week, probably. What are you guys thinking about this?
That's rough, man. I mean, that just speaks to the adrenaline during these games, because this guy, I mean, if you really think about the game itself, the last thing that dude did was bust off an 80-yard touchdown where he didn't even get tackled. You know, he just won the game. That was a walk-off moment, but he played through a calf strain while he was doing that too. What a hoss, man. What an animal.
What a hoss.
He outran the entire team 86 yards with a strained calf.
He's like, I was hurt the whole
watch
time.
This.
Hoss has got to be like one of my top things to call someone.
Nice. Hog or Haas? Which one do you prefer?
Gotta be Hog.
Hog. Yeah, it's Hog these days. But Haas is right there.
This feels like the Justin Fields soreness from earlier in the season where he's just running too much. Like the dude ran, over 300 all-purpose yards in that game. He needs a rest probably. I see Tommy down there saying the same thing. Would you, after all those yards, he needs a rest. He will be good. I'm not too worried about Josh Jacobs. And if he does miss this week, he misses this week. But he should be fine down the stretch. It doesn't sound like anything serious.
Yes,
if he plays, I'm playing him. Like, I don't care if he doesn't practice all week. If he plays, I'm playing Josh Jacobs. I'm not sticking him on my bench, especially against the Chargers.
And I just want to point out in the chat, Maria said, I support the gang all right, but my phone battery doesn't, and she got the sad faces. Maria, it's okay. So you're supporting us through YouTube. Just if you could download the Better Sports app out there, it definitely helps us. But then, you know what? Watch the show on whatever platform you prefer. You're part of the FYF family, whatever way you come and join us. So don't feel bad, Maria. You're the coolest.
You're the coolest. And she said she already ate, so no breakfast for Maria. She did have her cereal this morning.
You must leave.
You must leave.
What kind of cereal?
Special K, cinnamon something.
Boo! That's a grown-up cereal. You're not allowed to buy.
She's been making me eat it too.
No, that's not Reese's Puffs.
Yeah.
It's candy for breakfast.
For my health or something.
Ugh. What's next? Raisin Bran?
Don't get me started.
Then you'll be an adult. That's
like Raisin Bran. You'll be eating plain cornflakes.
They're gonna be expecting me to start paying bills.
No one's been expecting that yet, right?
Checking my mail. No, thank you.
Eating Raisin Bran is like in Peter Pan when you like stop believing and you just become a boring adult. I think that's like the final straw. Like the moment you eat Raisin Bran, you all of a sudden next morning you wake up and you're like, I don't even think Adventure Time is funny anymore.
Yeah,
you don't like cartoons.
Adventure Time is for babies.
Kind of a silly show when you think about it. You know, that's what happens when you eat too much Raisin Bran. So be careful.
I don't have time for that.
You'll never hear the bells on the Polar Express ever again. If you start eating Raisin Bran. Yeah, it's just you'll be too busy. Maria in the chat saying I would never eat Raisin Bran. Good.
We know. We trust
PSA. You. PSA to everyone out there, don't eat Raisin Bran.
Tommy says he's having his regular breakfast, a coffee and a full tomato like an apple. There you go, Tommy, dude. I can't wait to have that. That sounds really good. Speaking of reasons that I'm going to have that, anyone that doesn't know, me and Tommy have a bet going. Who has a better record, Raiders or the Broncos? Even though the Raiders have been bad, the Broncos have been so bad that the recent news from yesterday is that they flexed their game out of prime time. And the crazy part of that, as Lindsey Jones from The Ringer points out, the Broncos are so bad, they forced the NFL NBC to flex Patrick Mahomes out of prime time. So the Broncos are so bad that they took a Chiefs game out of prime time because they can't trust the Broncos to put together an entertaining product. That is an indictment. Bro.
The NFL really thought these Russell Wilson-led Broncos were going to be like one of the most exciting teams to watch this season because they put them in so many primetime games. Like I feel like we've watched the Broncos in primetime like 4 or 5 times this season. It feels like.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Thank God they moved this game out of primetime. But that is absurd that they moved like the premier player in the league. You know what I mean? The player that they almost want on TV during primetime than any other player, Patrick Mahomes, and they pushed him out of primetime because Russell Wilson and these Broncos are just so freaking bad.
What a joke.
What a joke. It's absurd.
Shame. It's a dang shame.
It's a dang shame. It's a dang shame. Guys, I saw a report about Mike White. You know, I've been iffy on like how players perceive him because last year after he won, he got kind of cocky and saying like I should have been the starter all along. Like I don't know how he's received, but we're getting a report. This comes from SNY TV saying White is among the most loved players in the locker room. Players described him to SNY as one of the most genuine and real guys on the team. Mike White is the Jets QB until he, not Zach Wilson, does something to change that, is the quote. Coming via Connor J. Hughes of SNY TV.
Where's all this Mike White love coming from?
From the locker room, dude. Maybe Zach Wilson's just a huge dweeb, but clearly they love him enough to say something. So that means something, you know? I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, definitely does. We were playing poll perception yesterday on our game show, fantasy football game show, and there was a poll with like, is Mike White a better QB than Zach Wilson? And it was Mike White won by so much. It was so absurd. It was so much. It's like 7% of the vote said no.
Yeah, Tommy makes a good point. New York always loves the other guy. The grass is always greener on the other side. Yeah, that's
true. Right? That's true. That is a good point. Keith, can you confirm this?
Oh yeah,
as a Jets fan,
I'm sure.
Oh, he was chomping at the bit for Mike White. He was so ready for Mike White to start. He said, "Yeah,
Mike White booty."
Yeah, Yeah,
That's
said
that
Keith.
boy.
That's Keith.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, guys, I saw a tweet yesterday. Did you see this from Tom Pelissero? He tweets out, Lamar Jackson is joining the Broncos. Jackson, the former Bears defensive back, cleared waivers and is signing with Denver's practice squad per source. Lamar Jackson's new team faces Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on Sunday. And the best part about this is right underneath, Ian Rappaport comes in and responds just, Tom.
Stop doing what you're doing.
Tom, you can't do this.
You got Ian Rappaport to stop being a robot for 1 second, which was pretty cool.
And then Mike Garofalo comes in under him and goes, leave him alone. Good tweet. They're just they're all piling on in one thread. It was like, hey, look, the gang's all here. Usually you don't see them interacting.
All
right?
the NFL insiders.
You just see them breaking the news individually. And you know what? Good old Tom Pelissero had a tweet that was enough to bring them all together. That was insightful enough. Not insightful as in like SIGHT, but CITEFUL, if that's a word.
Oh.
So
Tom, how do you think you get in that circle?
Like this.
Sell your soul to the devil.
Yeah.
First, you got to find a some intern at a hospital that's willing to sell you Jean-Pierre Paul's X-rays, and then you're in.
And then you're in. That's it.
That's the first. That's the only way. Just got to find somebody to break the HIPAA Act on your behalf, and then you get some respect in that group. Right? Crawling under. I just picture Adam Schefter like he has tunnels under the stadium where he's like crawling underneath of the microphone, like trying to pick up sound that he can break news with, right? But speaking of Tom Pelissero, he's one of my favorites. He actually had another tweet yesterday. Yeah, big day for Tom.
Big day for him.
Clap it up for Tom too. Yeah, huge day. This one actually talks about something that we had a little back and forth on yesterday. We were talking about the Broncos. Jill pointed out, this is as bad of a start as you see. Urban Meyer only made it, 10 games. Maybe, Nathaniel Hackett's on the hot seat here. Tom Pelissero came in and said, Nathaniel Hackett has not lost the Broncos locker room, but, and he quotes someone on this, Russ has lost some people around that team. He has lost some people in that room. So it sounds like, somebody within the group there, because it wouldn't be in quotes otherwise, is making the suggestion that if push comes to shove and someone has to be the scapegoat, the people around the team are suggesting Russ rather than Nathaniel Hackett. That being said, Simon pointed out yesterday, not easy to get rid of Russ with the contract, but interesting, for that news to come out.
As much as players, can talk about stuff, like their leverage in terms of decision making probably is pretty low. Like even if he's lost some players, I bet you management's still going to be like, yeah, but millions of dollars, or your opinion. Let's go with millions of dollars.
You're fired. Who said that?
You're
probably like, who said that? You're actually the one that's out.
Let's just run through how much they can't get rid of Russell Wilson, okay? If they were to cut him next year or trade him or let him walk, the dead cap hit is $107 million. Following year, in 2024, okay, maybe it goes down a little bit. The dead cap hit is $85 million. The year after that, $49.6 million.
Have we ever seen anything like that?
It's absurd. Whoever his agent is deserves the Oscar for best agents getting a good contract. Because then in 2026, there's a potential out 4-year, $161 million with $31.2 in dead cap. Right there in year 6. So that's what we're looking at. I don't care how many people around the organization want Russell Wilson out of there. He's your quarterback for the next couple of years, Broncos fans.
He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, no. I'm trying about the cap history and stuff like that. I haven't been paying attention long enough to the cap to how teams have done it, but I can't imagine that we've seen anything like this in recent history where a team took that dead cap hit, that amount of dead cap hit.
Well, I mean, honestly, though, it's easy for us to say that this in hindsight, and of course we're going to, but at the time, nobody thought it was a terrible deal. I mean, the guy has been so good. He's been to Super Bowl multiple times, won the Super Bowl. He's played well on bad teams, which is what you look for at times. So, at the time, it felt like such a slam dunk that, of course, you give the guy the contract, you bring him over, you give all the picks for him, you get that locked in and set up. And then, yikes, right now, it looks pretty bad. But like I said yesterday, I'm willing to give him at least another full year. Sometimes it takes time to install the offense you want to install, turn things over. We'll see. We're going to see. Aaron Rodgers struggled with Nathaniel Hackett's offense when it first came to town. And then, that was the year he said, relax. Everything turned out fine towards the very end. Maybe we'll see a glimpse at the end of this year,
Yeah, I think we could. I think this could be a case of just a combination of things, right? Lollapalooza effect maybe coming into play here with Nathaniel Hackett being a inexperienced head coach, combined with the fact that Russell Wilson's just not able to transcend that. And so I think I agree with you, Coop. I think Russell Wilson will be fine. I don't think that talent just vanishes overnight. I just think that he's going through this slump right now, and it happens.
Could have the yips, man. Like, he seems like a guy that, it'd be a lot easier if he wasn't a dude that took it so seriously. Like, you can't even blame it on him not, being prepared or taking it seriously, because clearly he does. I think he just might have the yips where it's like getting in his head, and now you just can't do anything right.
And if you take it so seriously and you're not performing well, it probably gets in your head even more. Like this is the dude, you see the reports, like he showed up to like camp and practice in his own jersey. Like shows up wearing the Russell Wilson jersey to camp. He walks around screaming, "Let's ride!" Like, I get it why he's getting under people's skin, and I get it why he's maybe struggling mentally with not performing well this season either. With how hokey he is, how all in he is about being a quarterback.
We got Truly Epic in the chat. FYF chat saying Mike White or Dak Prescott, is he good enough to start over Dak?
No.
Because
we ran through that yesterday. We ran through the list of guys that we would consider Mike White over, and it didn't get quite that far. Didn't get quite to the Daks. We stopped before the group of Dak and Kirk Cousins and Trevor Lawrence. I believe was kind of that was the line.
I said I would start Ryan Tannehill over him, but I think you guys said you would start him over Ryan Tannehill.
But you can't, like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, Mike White's going to come out, throw 3 touchdowns in his first game. We've seen him have big games before. I'm going to start him over Kenny Pickett, who has 1 touchdown pass over his last 4 games, right? I'm going to start him over Mac Jones, who, he threw for 380 yards this week. But as a Patriots fan, I'm not going to pretend that this is a guy that, is a gunslinger. Where Mike White, looks like he's willing to chuck it football. So that's what you want to see in fantasy football.
Yeah. And Spooky season here. Good morning, Spooky said thoughts on Lamar saying eat a dick.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't do that. Probably shouldn't do that.
Shouldn't.
And he should probably the other part of it is he should reserve. Like, it's actually, I think it's okay for players to do that under the right circumstances. If somebody says something completely egregious to you or completely untrue, that's when you come out and you absolutely destroy them. And when I see that on Twitter, I really enjoy that. In this case, I don't think that the tweet that he responded to was that like harsh or even false enough to come out and tell that guy to eat a dick. You know what I mean? That's I think that particular one, he got a little carried away. Super fun. Yeah. No, dude, I think even more funny than eat a dick was the part where he said that dude had never even smelled the football. I think that's the most hilarious. And I'm definitely stealing that, dude. I'm just gonna start telling people like, bro, smell a football, bro.
Smell a football, bro. No, this was a dude just
then come talk to me.
Pissed after a loss, got on Twitter when maybe he should have gotten on something else, and responded emotionally to someone saying some stuff about the game.
You're telling me that every single one of us wouldn't have said, like, texted that to somebody if that was us in that position? We'd have been like, man, look at all these people complaining.
Yeah. It's so easy for me to I sit there and I'm like, look at Kevin Durant with his burners. I would behave exactly like Kevin Durant. I'd be like, I'd read every tweet. I'd be on Reddit. You know what I mean? Like, I know I would. I'd be a combination of like Kevin Durant and Johnny Manziel. So I wouldn't be in the league very long.
Johnny Manziel is always the one I say I think I'd be like if at 21 you gave me like a first round draft pick, millions of dollars and tons of attention, yeah, I'd be a problem. Cool. Yeah, I would be such a problem. You put me in a city where I'm now like one of the new largest celebrities in said city, like, yep, it's a day. I'm not making it very long in the NFL. Now, I think I could handle it. But we expect this of like 20 to 23-year-old dudes given millions of dollars. It's absurd. It's absurd the expectations we have for them.
I
think
quit
people
my, I
should be
quit
able to
my
say that
job.
in every professional setting.
I quit my job at the Rentham outlets when I was like 19 because I wanted to go to a party. They were like, oh, you got to stay and help close. I was like, nah.
Nah.
They're like, if you
He
leave,
just left the store. He's just
but
unattended.
She was literally, she's like, if you leave, you're fired. I was like, oh yeah, I know. everybody else
I'm not worried
looks
about it.
everybody else looks around. They're like, can we be fired too? It's Friday, you know.
It's
Yeah, next then Black Friday rolls around and they're like, yeah, we need you to work. I was like, yeah, I know.
I got fired months
I was
ago.
like, it's an outlet store. You're gonna need me on Black Friday no matter what.
Producer Keith came in here and with some info for our earlier conversation. Said Matt Ryan was the largest dead cap hit. Dead money was 40.53 million.
Yeah.
So Russell Wilson is just next year was what, like twice that, 2.2 that.
I mean, like nothing will ever beat the time that the Texans overpaid Brock Osweiler. The Broncos overpaid Brock Osweiler. That needed to get out of the trade so badly that they took their own draft pick and packaged it up with him to trade him away. So they gave away, I think it was a second round pick. Oh, actually, it might have been the Texans traded him to the Browns. So the Texans were the ones that overpaid him. Texans overpaid Brock Osweiler so bad that to clear up some of that money and continue to try to compete, they had to take Brock Osweiler and their second round pick and give that to the Browns just to clear that money. I don't think you're going to beat that one, dude. Like, here's our quarterback and our pick. Just give us some money.
Just to take Brock Osweiler from them.
I think I got it right the fifth time.
I was like, man, you really want to say Brock Osweiler? Like, you just kept wanting to go down that route.
Rick Osweiler. They got rid of him.
I forgot about that guy until you just said his name.
Brent Osweiler has always been one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's the stereotypical what the Broncos thought was the future of the quarterback position for them. Like just this like big man. Like that's what they like to draft for a while. Like, hey, who's the biggest quarterback in the draft? Oh, Paxton Lynch? Let's draft him. Oh, Brock Osweiler? Let's draft him. Like I was it was just like predictable who they were going to take for a couple years.
Yeah, they definitely decided who to take. Solely they just put him on the field with John Elway, and Elway would just warm the old arm up, and it was like whoever could throw it farther than Elway, they were like, all right, we'll consider you. We'll consider you. That's definitely how they got Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler.
Smoking Jay Cuddy.
Now, we've been talking a lot of negative stuff about coaches. I want to address something I saw yesterday that I like to see, and that's from Jeff Saturday. Did you guys see the comments from him?
Mm-mm.
Came out, said a lot of things that I like. He came out and said, you know what? I should have called a timeout after that scramble by Matt Ryan. Going back, looking at the tape, now I know how to recognize those situations. I wish I had that third down back. Wish I had called the timeout. That's on me. I didn't play up to the that standard that's expected of me. That Jeff Saturday took, and we're talking about something that's normal people probably wouldn't have even thought of. Like he found a way to take the blame for that situation when he probably didn't even need to, because most people aren't thinking, oh, you got to take a timeout there. But he came out and said, here's what happened. He was exhausted after the scramble. We needed a big play here. We should have taken the timeout, regathered. That's a coaching move. I should have made that call. Hey, I love seeing that stuff, dude. Take the blame off, especially if you're going to declare Matt Ryan the starter moving forward. Take as much of the heat off and then put it on yourself, because guess what? Heat on you from the media doesn't affect the ownership. It doesn't affect everyone in that building, especially if they know you're doing that. So
that's good leadership. That's what it is. Leaders, they shield their people, right? And they take responsibility, even, when it's not necessarily on them. And that's everything I've seen from Jeff Saturday. I got to say, I've been impressed. Whenever he was hired, I was fully expecting this to be just a train wreck. And I've been impressed. I think he's a humble dude. I think he's got, he's grounded, and he's may not be the best head coach ever, but like, who cares?
I always think about that. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I always think about that the Corey Parson take from this very show, where he's like, leaders eat last. Him and Nando talking about the chow line. Like Jeff Saturday, that's an Owlie eat last move. Whereas Zach Wilson is like grabbing stuff off other people's plates, right? Like he's like just cutting the line. So
he sees there's 3 rolls left and he takes all 3 of them, even though there's 12 people behind him.
That's what Zach Wilson's doing. So love to see that from Jeff Saturday.
No, it's awesome. And it seems like he's willing to or actively trying to learn from each and every one of these games. You know what I mean? Like he's viewing this as like, yo, this is my shot. This no ego head coach thing is an interesting experiment because I feel like that's the factor that almost every other coach in this league has is a bit of an ego about their coaching and their coaching style, right? Jeff Saturday came in. He's got no ego when it comes to this. He said, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do my best. And he's doing that so far. He's doing what he promised.
Yeah. It just that leaders last thing made me think of a Nelson Mandela quote that reminded me of is it's better to lead from behind to put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory, when nice things occur, and you take the front line when there's danger. Then people will appreciate your leadership. And I think that nails that exactly what you're talking about, dude.
Nelson Mandela was a beast, bro.
Beast. Hoss,
dude, went to jail over that quote probably. I mean, over quite a few things. They were just like, this guy is too sharp. Throw him back.
Everything he did, put him back in jail.
I'll tell you, the most impressive thing with Jeff Saturday is I'm not sure how many people remember him actually playing for the Colts. He was an amazing center for the Colts, and like Peyton Manning always credited him as being the quarterback of the offensive line. But that dude was huge. He was a chunky boy when he played, and he's looking svelte now. Go back and look at Jeff Saturday when he was number 63 in the center for the Colts. You can't even tell it's the same
about
dude.
The eyelashes, man.
Yeah, like crazy that he was able to drop that weight. He's looking great.
He looks like
295 when he played. 295 pounds. That's a big man.
Yeah, but now you look at him and it's like not even close, dude. It's like 2 different people.
Jeff Saturday looks like he would be like how people in SpongeBob think like their vision of handsome.
Yeah, handsome Squidward.
Like he's like handsome Squidward.
For some reason, he's giving me Larry the Lobster vibes. Just like as a person, like they're like similar people. They're cut from the same stereotype or like the same cloth. You get Larry the Lobster in your undersea version, and you get Jeff Saturday as your land version.
You know, sometimes I get Tom Hanks vibes from him.
Really?
Pictures I see, I'm just like, yeah, there's a couple of them here.
Little Sully vibes.
I got one right here where this one I'm sending you guys. Like it's Hanks out. It's Hanks to the max, dude.
Hanks to the max.
We got Will in the chat. Good morning, Will. He said, "Can I trust Deshaun Watson over Cousins this week?" What do you guys think?
I think it's a riskier play than Cousins, but I also think the upside's much higher. My biggest concern for Watson this week isn't even the fact that he's coming back from injury or playing against his former team. It's this Houston Texans run defense. There's a chance that the Browns, who love to run the ball, will just run the ball all over the Houston Texans, that they get Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going, and they don't need Deshaun Watson to throw it a ton in his first game back. So that's my biggest concern with starting Deshaun this weekend for fantasy, but I'm plugging him in over Kirk Cousins. I think I am plugging him in over Kirk Cousins, but it's that upside.
Yeah,
it's not without risk.
He's definitely above the Kirk line. I think we went through it yesterday. We went through all the where Deshaun Watson fits in our weekly rankings, and I believe all of us had him above Kirk.
Yeah, Watson. I think Mike White. When you talk about Mike White versus Dak Prescott, I think Deshaun Watson versus Dak Prescott is a closer discussion, because obviously you start Deshaun over Mike White, but do you start Dak over Deshaun? We were pretty close on that one. I think I still trust Dak, but I mean, Deshaun versus the Texans, they could win by 50. They could hang 50 on them. I don't think that if he wants to get revenge, if they truly believe in him and believe in what he's saying as they tell us, then they might just let him go out and get his revenge on that organization.
Now maybe it turns into a negative game script type situation, or I guess positive game script for Deshaun Watson and the Browns, and they run it because that's what that team is. It's very run heavy. There's absolutely a chance that occurs and he doesn't go off. I think all of us here are buying into a little bit of the fact that Deshaun Watson's going to want to come out and prove something, whatever that is.
That's a good point. That's a good point, JL, because the Texans are that team that gets run all over, right?
Yeah.
Like Derrick Henry ran for 200, and that could be a good way for them to keep the headlines and the spotlight off Deshaun Watson and just say, hey, you know what? Don't do too much today. Let's just run this team into the ground. Maybe you throw one touchdown pass at some point, just because you can do whatever you want, probably, and then you just get out of that without the headlines and stuff. Because I guess you're probably bringing a lot of attention to yourself if you throw us 5 touchdown passes, right?
Or also, I guess you could make the argument for the narrative that it's going to be like the first time he's been playing Madden in like years. And so he goes on easy mode to start out. And they're just like, hey, easy defense, like just light it up, get loose, shake off the rust.
He's been playing so much Madden, he just keeps calling audibles to like streaks, like just sending all 5 guys. He's calling to bomb from NFL Blitz.
Oh my God. That was like how he kept in the NFL in his mind, was just playing Madden constantly.
I mean, it's not crazy, dude. It's not crazy. I'm telling you. So one day, this Jeff Saturday has opened the doors, and one day they're going to say, hey, you know what? This kid has won the National Madden Tournament 6 years in a row. Maybe he knows a little something about picking defenses, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, you get that Madden kid in there, dude, calling 9 Velcro. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's like Matthew Berry becoming a broadcaster on like the real NFL game.
It's like, happening, dude.
You made it.
We're trickling in. I mean, we've seen it in baseball. We've seen it in baseball with that guy Taubman who got fired by the Astros. That dude was a DFS player. 100% quit his job on Wall Street to play DFS, and then he ended up being the assistant GM for the Houston Astros before blowing up in front of the media and getting fired and tarnished from the league. And he's probably back on Wall Street now, but can't say he didn't make it. I can't say he didn't make some crazy moves for that team to help them put them in the spot where they are now.
Yeah. Truly Epic in here saying, I got Watson, Dak, and Fields for my QBs, leaning Dak at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's safe. I mean, that's the way to do it. Who do the Cowboys have here?
That's a good question.
Cowboys look good, man. That team.
That team the Colts this weekend.
It's a middle of the pack matchup. It's a neutral matchup.
Yeah, I like that.
Roll with Dak over these options.
Cowboys should crush, man. I mean, when we go through the teams and you say, okay, who are real competitors? Who are real threats to win the Super Bowl? And what teams are frauds? I got to put the Cowboys in the real threats group. I'm not sure if you guys feel differently, but something about this team having a truly good defense changes the way I think about them. Because before we always thought of them as like, Jerry Jones getting all these stars on offense, but he neglects the defense. They got stars on defense now too. So kind of intriguing. They got
the Cowboys are one of only 5 teams with better than plus 1,000 odds to win the Super Bowl on FanDuel Sportsbook. They're sitting there at number 5, Coop. So, and the teams that they're up there with, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the 49ers, and then the Cowboys right there. So
great teams.
They're agreeing with you. And I agree with you too. I think the Cowboys are a real Super Bowl contender this year with the way they're playing out there with Dak back on the field.
So those are the 5 obvious ones. JL, anybody else that you would attempt to sneak into that group that you think that could be in there, could be real contenders?
Did you say Dolphins already?
No.
That was his Dolphins. That was his Dolphins.
Go with Dolphins then. I just randomly am thinking Dolphins. Let's go with Dolphins.
Dolphins, yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree, JL. I fully agree.
That was an amazing Dolphin call, honestly. Like the fact I wouldn't even know where to begin.
He called me and he goes, settle a debate. And it's him and Leanne. And he's like, who has a better dolphin noise? And both of theirs were awful. And then suddenly, months later, he pulls out on the show his dolphin impersonation like he had been practicing every day for months. And it was incredible.
I had been practicing.
The crazy part is, I bet Leanne's awesome. I bet hers is even stronger.
Even better, yeah.
Is that true?
It's like, in the chat.
Oh, her competitive drive is the only thing in the house stronger than my competitive drive. So if my dolphin noise got better, all of a sudden she was like, "Oh, watch this."
Watch this.
She just opens her mouth and it's like the actual noise from Flipper comes out. Like it doesn't even it doesn't even sync up with her mouth movement. It's just like in there.
She figured it out. She cracked the dolphin case.
Those ungulate noises are tough.
Ungulate? The heck is an ungulate? Anyway, fan first asking to start flex Rashad White or Chris Olave, PPR. Also, should I start Garoppolo versus Dolphins over Jackson versus the Broncos? Let's start with the first one. Which of these two players are you guys starting, Rashad White or Chris Olave?
That is a tough one. Who do the Buccaneers have this weekend again? The Buccaneers are playing against the Saints. So that's a tough matchup. I think
right on the other side both players are in that matchup. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a tough matchup both ways. I think I roll Olave here for the PPR upside. Though we saw Rashad White getting heavily targeted as well. It's a tough one. I'm just actually scared of the Saints against opposing running backs. So unless they're like a slam dunk start and you've got a good option elsewhere, Olave is getting pretty heavily targeted. So I think I'll roll him out there. He feels safer.
Is Leonard Fournette out again? Do we know?
I don't know if we've seen official confirmation on Leonard Fournette yet.
Yeah. I mean, if Leonard Fournette plays, then to me, it's pretty obviously Chris Olave. But here's the thing. Chris Olave last week, 9 targets, 5 catches for 62. Rashad White himself had 9 targets with 9 catches for 45. So, and that's with the carries on the other side. I don't think he's a lock for 9 targets every week, but I don't know. I feel pretty good about his usage if Fournette is out. JL, can you break the tie here?
Yeah, I'll go Olave. Rashad White. I
don't like that.
Kind of tough matchup for him this week. They're not the best matchup, and Olave has just been playing very well. And the Leonard Fournette back and forth is a little worrisome for me. If Leonard Fournette is ruled out, then I think it becomes a little bit closer of a conversation.
Yeah, I like it though. Olave, he's been safe. I mean, he's like wide receiver 12 or 13, depending what format you play this year. So the guy's
is he good. The best rookie wide receiver?
He's been a wide receiver 1. As of right now, he is, but I don't know if he's going to have the best career because that's always a debate. We've seen it a million times where, like, the Buccaneers drafted that dude Mike Williams and he scored like 10 touchdowns and was a stud. And, at the time I was like, oh, Mike Williams, he's so good. And then it turns out that in that draft class was Dez Bryant, Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Antonio Brown, and Emmanuel Sanders. And then looking back, I was like, hey, Mike Williams, maybe not that good. Maybe he wasn't the best, even though he had the best rookie year. Maybe he wasn't the best wide receiver. So I think Chris Olave has kind of locked himself in as a good player, but to say he's the best and going to have the best career, I can't say that just yet. Not with guys like Christian Watson and Treylon Burks. These guys are physical freaks.
No, and then Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, like Drake London. There are a ton of players in this class. I would not be shocked if you told me they had the best career. Jameson Williams. We haven't even seen the dude play yet. And he very easily could be the best wide receiver from this class. Like before he got injured, dude was projected as the top wide receiver from this class by many analysts ranking the wide receivers coming out. So there's a lot of players in this class that could be the best. But Joe, you're right. Olave's the best production so far. Like we've seen the most from Olave. I'm most confident in him.
And Jeff's gone. Awesome.
He said I'm out of here.
JL would have. JL actually, I know what he was about to say. He was about to say, wow, you guys, so smart, so handsome, totally fully agree with everything you guys are saying.
Is that what you were about to say, JL?
That was exactly what I was about to say.
I knew it. I knew it.
Made it easy on everyone.
Nailed it.
You could see the Mike McDaniel quote yesterday about Nick Bosa.
No, I didn't see that one, actually.
He said he lives and breathes pass rushing. When I was in San Francisco, he would do pass rushing moves on hand sanitizer pods.
What?
Just like swimming through to get like a little bit of a, then spinning around.
I'm thinking at first I was like hand sanitizer pods. Like I was imagining like a Tide pod. I was like, what is he talking about? But then I think he means like the standalone stands. You know what I'm talking about? You see them in like stores and stuff where you can put it under. And he must be going up like in the practice facility, just like trying to juke out the hand sanitizer stand wherever they've got them in the hallways.
That's like me, like, every time I go through a doorway, I like jump up and do like a windmill dunk and tap dude.
Every doorway.
Just dunking on doorways, dude.
That is hilarious.
Like, and there's a lot of doors in my house.
My doctor was like, do you exercise? And I was like, well, I dunk on every single doorway I go through. Does that count? And he said, no.
Yes.
So I said, no. Well, then no.
It's like
I
all
don't.
you're doing is slowly destroying your right shoulder every time you do it.
Yeah, as if it wasn't playing catcher and quarterback and throwing the javelin that destroyed my right shoulder.
You
It's
threw
definitely
the javelin? You were a javelin thrower?
6th in the state,
Did you
brother.
kill anyone?
Yeah, I won one Massachusetts Class B, finished sixth in Massachusetts, and I did actually hit one of our teammates in the calf one time with the javelin. He had to go get stitches. So pretty much the answer to all your questions, boys, is yes. That was nice.
That's like my worst nightmare. I feel like.
Oh, it was such a little scrape, dude. I mean, we did lose the 4x4 that day because it was the day of a meet and he had to go to the hospital. But I mean, I still got the points. I still got 3 points for finishing first in the jav.
Wait, so you hit him and finished first? He must have underestimated you, honestly. That's on him.
I mean, dude, it partially was his fault, partially was my fault. He was kind of in my area when I was doing stabs. And I kind of was like, kind of faking that at him. And then I let go of it. Could have been way worse.
Could have been way worse. I've done that before where I was pretending to like throw my Powerade at someone. Like I was just like doing a fake out, but then it came out of my hand. And what I did was I just threw a full 32-ounce Powerade directly into my friend's face, like at their nosebleed immediately.
I bet you got
like in a Kroger. Like we're just standing there, and it's like it's not even a joke. Like, just all of a sudden, I just assault them in a Kroger on accident.
I bet you got the same question I got. Why'd you do that? And my answer was like somewhere in my reptile brain, something deep in my reptile, the same thing that makes me like snap the tops off like pen caps. That part of my reptile brain just said we have to do this.
Like, this is what I need to do. Didn't really think about it.
Gotta do it. Yeah, exactly. Your brain's just like, I gotta snap this off, and you're like, why? Your brain's like, you gotta.
And then like, and it's like, I'm gonna hate the pen afterwards. I don't want to touch that pen after the clip's gone. Like, sorry, you just have to do it. No, Coop, it's like you were there. That was the exact question. Like, I think it might have been a bit more expletive. Like, why the hell would you do that? Like what's wrong with you? That's not funny.
You're just like, I don't know.
But here we are.
You have no reason. I'm just like,
You guys see that Allen Robinson placed on IR on Tuesday. Big bummer. Needing season-ending surgery. Allen Robinson.
I know, that stinks, man. Didn't have a chance to redeem himself.
At this point, can we call it on Allen Robinson? Like, is he ever going to bounce back fantasy-wise? It feels like year after year we make excuses for him, and it's just never really come to fruition. What do you guys think about Allen Robinson?
So the elbow problems for Matt Stafford make me want to think that it's possible for him to have a comeback, but he'll be, if he's not 30 at the start of next year, he will be. I know he's 29. I mean, I could just get the actual information. So he will be 30, turns 30 in August. I mean, he's right there where that's a real question, but I mean, if Stafford's back fully healthy, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not willing to bet on it. What do you boys think? You're going to be drafting a lot of Allen Robinson next year?
No, even if he I just don't see the path to, like, the path was there this year, right? Like, it was very clearly there this year for him, and it didn't come to fruition. He was getting the targets. He just wasn't turning into fantasy success. So I'm probably out unless we see something on the field next year that makes me think we have some reason to be hopeful about his career.
You know what's interesting with Allen Robinson is that, like, I don't know why with this Saints team, he didn't look as big as he is, and he didn't play as big as I remember him playing.
Rams?
With the Rams, I remember him being like with the Jags, he was like a dominant jump ball guy. He's listed like 6'2", 220. He looked like that on the Bears. For some reason in this Rams offense, maybe it's the way they were using him. A lot of like out routes and comebacks and stuff. He just didn't look to me as big or as strong. And I know we've heard it before with like Urban Meyer saying DJ Chark doesn't play as big as he is, but Allen Robinson just did not seem to play as big as he used to, in my opinion. He was just not I can't remember him making any jump ball catches with the Rams, and the route. I think a part of it is the route tree that him running. The comebacks and the outs and stuff make you look small.
Maybe in his new house, his mirror is further away than it used to be. So his self-image has made him think that he's actually much smaller than he was back when he lived in Chicago and Jacksonville. Like he just has to set up his mirror on the other side of the bed now because it's a smaller space in LA, prices are higher.
Sense.
And so now he thinks he's smaller than he actually is. And that's how he's playing. It's all the mirror.
Playing down to that level, dude. I hate when that happens.
Mirror games. I was just looking at a Dynasty League football there. ADP for Allen Robinson over the years, over his career, and it is just wild. It goes way up. He's 2014. He's like wide receiver 30 something, 35. Jumps up to wide receiver 6. Wide receiver 6 in 2016.
After his 14 touchdown season with Blake Bortles in Jacksonville, that checks out.
And then just dips from then to 2019 for 3 years, dips down to like wide receiver 25, and then back up in 2020 when the hope that going to Chicago was going to help, and then back down, and now he's wide receiver 40, lowest he's ever been.
Ouch, man.
Honestly, might be high. I'm not trying to be rude, but wide receiver 40 might be a little bit high right now with what we've seen from him over the past couple of years. Like he hasn't done wide receiver 40 stuff over the past couple seasons.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It's pretty rough. Yeah. Guys, coming up, we are going to play some Quotey McQuote face, and then we'll be defending the opposite of some of our favorite takes in contrapuntal. We'll answer Reddit's toughest questions, and then our friend Alex Korf, a.k.a. the Trade Daddy, a.k.a. Peaked in High School, will be joining the show as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Obviously, you've got a couple identities here, right? And so, Lisa Ann's here. Let's talk sports. Let's talk fantasy. What about my team? What do you think about my team? Like, that's dope, man. Like that brand you have built here is huge. And over in Switzerland, you're a big deal in Switzerland. Of course you are.
In Europe, all over Europe. But when I was at the Jersey show like 2 or 3 weekends ago, my security was shocked because every other guy legit handed me his phone and said, "Yo, Lise, can you check my lineup? Can you look on the waiver wire? I got bye weeks coming up." You're right. It's really neat how my worlds have become just this synergy between, me being me and then me reaching out to all of these different people and having this common ground that now it's like we're kind of bros when we talk about sports, right? We're just friends. We're all sharing the same heartbreak or pain. Sports is the international language.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Probably every team knows that inking starting pitchers to big deals and big money agreements is bad business. But that's the business they're in. What else are they going to do? That's what it costs to play the game. And all these pitchers realize it. I'd like to sit here and say, well, you should develop your own pitching. You should never pay these guys $25 million a year. But Ray, I don't think teams can do that. It's like the pitchers have a lot of power despite their weaknesses and despite their fragility. They still have so much control over the purse strings of these teams and these GMs and these owners. They don't care, Ray. They're seeing the same numbers we are. They know Jake DeGrom, if they sign him, you pray for 130 innings. Every team knows that, Ray. They may say something different, but they know what's going on. And Ray, it won't stop them. I mean, what do you think DeGrom gets in free agency this year?
I think he'll get 4 or 5 years, and he'll get 35 a year each, right? Paying $20 million for Drew Smyly is stupid. Paying $200 million for DeGrom is idiotic, in my opinion. Jacob DeGrom has had 14 injuries the last 2 years. Like, every part of his body, it's just, and he's phenomenal. But you can't be locked in. If DeGrom makes 25 starts, 26 starts, if he throws 150 innings, you could win your division. You could win the World Series. I get it. But if he does the other thing, which is what he's done the last couple of years, your team is so hamstrung. Unless you're one of 2 or 3 teams, you can't spend your way out of that.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Guys, if you have some questions for us, fantasy football questions, throw them in the chat. We're going to be answering these throughout the show, or head on over to the BSN app and hit that call in button, and you can come up here and ask us live. We had a question come in from Bronson. Wanted to know, should I trade Deshaun Watson for Najee Harris and Dawson Knox? It's a 2-quarterback league, and I have Burrow and Allen already. Did you guys make that trade?
No.
Watson for Najee and Knox?
No, not in a 2-quarterback league. Watson's going to be probably too valuable. Najee Harris, I think, is going to have a better second half of the season. We're already seeing that, but the injury concerns me. And Dawson Knox is a non-factor in this trade.
Fully agree with JL. You should be getting more for Watson in that format, even if you're not going to use him. And it's just like you're giving him to another team, improving that team, when I feel like those guys aren't improving your team by enough. So fully on board with JL.
Bronson also proposed to Mike Evans, Deshaun Watson, and Adam Thielen for Jamar Chase. Would you guys be doing that move? You've got Burrow and Allen at quarterback already. So Mike Evans, Deshaun Watson, and Adam Thielen for Jamar Chase.
It's too much to give up, Bronson. That's far too much. Yeah. That's I think you could probably get that done with Deshaun Watson and maybe a piece. Maybe even just Deshaun Watson straight up.
But even if it's Watson and Evans, you have to be careful that the team that you're trading those two guys to, you're not making that team way better. You know,
like a super team.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, if the guy has Chase and he's really struggling and he's probably not even going to make the playoffs, then maybe you do that just to improve your lineup ever so slightly. But like, just be careful trading with another top team.
Yeah. And both those teams have already had their buys, right? Neither one of those is like a week 13 buy, the Buccaneers or the Bengals. Yeah, the Buccaneers are like week 11, if I remember correctly, and the Bengals have already had their buy as well, if I'm not mistaken.
The remaining bye weeks are Cardinals and Panthers this week. And then week 14, there's a ton of teams. It's the Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, Saints, and Commanders.
Disgusting.
Why do they do that?
6 bye weeks in week 14. That is vile. That should be illegal, NFL.
Why you do that?
Why you do that?
It's just awful.
I get why they at the start of the season I was looking at it and I was like, why are there no bye weeks in week 12? But then I realized that was Thanksgiving and it basically made for 2 Sundays. So now I support the no bye weeks in week 12. But there shouldn't have been only 2 bye weeks in week 13 and 8. Spread them out.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Dustin in here saying, what's up, boys? What's up, Dustin? Welcome in, my friend.
What up, Dustin?
Also, Bronson saying Deshaun Watson for Christian Kirk. I think you're undervaluing the quarterback position in a super flex league or in a 2QB league. It is wildly valuable, especially a guy with the upside. Yeah, especially a guy with the upside that Deshaun Watson has. So if this is what you're like getting in return for him now, maybe wait a game. Like, see what he has, though. This is probably your trade deadline, so maybe you can't. But, man, I just don't think that's quite enough for trading away a top-tier quarterback.
And he said, that's all I'm getting offered for him. Just wait. Just wait until he starts playing. Those offers will change because people will know they're not going to be able to pull one. They're trying to pull one over on you, Bronson. That's what's happening here. Is they're trying to take advantage of the fact that there's uncertainty with Watson, but the upside is there, and I think the floor is much higher than most people think.
You put in all the work, Bronson. You carried the water up the mountain with this player because you can't put suspended players in IR spots. So you used a bench spot on this guy all year. That's what you should be telling these people. Look, I had the foresight to hold this guy all year, right? This is a super flex league where this guy is crazy valuable. If we were going to redraft right now, he'd probably be somewhere in the first round. Like he's that good of a player. So tell them you need first round value back. Tell them you want Chase for just Deshaun Watson straight up. In Superflex, that's not crazy.
Nope.
Yeah.
And Bronson bringing up what I was trying to say there. This could be the last opportunity to trade him, though, because
you don't need to trade him.
Most trade deadlines are this week. So I understand the urgency.
Let those fools start, Jimmy G and Mike White or whoever they're starting, and then they just lose. And if they want to trade you fair value, they can trade you fair value.
Yeah. Don't settle just because the trade deadline's coming. Don't settle for far less than fair value. And a little later in the show, we're going to get into the trade values, so we can take a look at just how valuable Deshaun Watson is in a 2-quarterback league.
Scott White,
can I ask you guys a question? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Coop.
Scott in the chat said, Coop, how do you feel about there being a Amazon Prime Black Friday game tomorrow? I actually did not know that. Scott says there's going to be 3 games on Thursday, 1 on Friday, 11 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. I'll tell you right now my opinion on that. They should take some of those 11 Sunday games and put them on Saturday. And let's just have football all the time, baby. But
it is.
I love it.
It is federally illegal. There was an act passed at one point that the NFL can't play on Fridays without certain approval because of high school football games. Like, because they don't want the NFL competing with high school football, that's why the NFL generally doesn't play games on Friday. I learned this last season. I'm going to have to find the act. O'Keefe coming in here saying Saturdays too, but like there's a federal law preventing it.
But they can get away with it this weekend because virtually all the high school teams play on Thanksgiving itself, which frees up that Friday from Thanksgiving. Also, Jeff Bezos has never had a problem with laws in the past. I mean, he has more money than the Lord.
Billions.
So he lives in Washington now, and he owns the Washington Post and all that stuff. Like, if he wants things changed, you can have football every day. So let's get him. Hurry up, buy the Commanders. Let's have football every day. Come on, Jeff.
That is next year. Scott Fish brings up. It's not this weekend. Black Friday week next year.
Obviously. Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah, Black Friday already passed.
And the act was the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961, in case anyone wants to go read that full act that's preventing the NFL from doing that more often.
Instead of actually reading it, I'm about to tweet repeal the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961.
Without looking up anything about it.
Without reading anything about it. Repeal the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961.
1960. Just say name a year too. You don't know.
Yeah, whatever year.
By the way, I looked up Alex's trade value charts just while we were talking to see where Deshaun Watson's value is. Currently, he is tier 4 values, jumped up 10 trade value points, Bronson. So he's and keep in mind, this is before he's played. So what we were all saying is that we expect this to jump up even more so in the next couple weeks. But he is currently valued among the likes of Chris Godwin, Chris Olave, Keenan Allen, Tony Pollard.
It's going to go up.
Dak Prescott, T. Higgins, like all those guys are within range. And it's only, I think it's very likely it goes up. So Christian Kirk, not quite enough value there.
Not enough for me. Two-Tone in here wanted to know Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce for Devontae Adams and Mark Andrews. Thoughts? Two-Tone, this is the kind of trade I don't like making. It's players in the same tier for players in the same tier at the same position. Chase and Adams, call it a wash. Whichever one you prefer. I'm not going to blame somebody either way. And then Kelce and Andrews, I want Kelce, but Andrews is a top-tier tight end as well. Whichever side you have is probably the side I'm just rolling with. If you make me pick in a vacuum, I'll take the Chase and Kelce side because Kelce's such a positional advantage at tight end.
Yeah, I'm with, and there's obviously Andrews, playing through injury, and I'd rather have Jamar Chase over Devontae Adams at this point.
You would. So you would rather have Jamar Chase even coming back from injury over Devontae Adams?
Yeah, I mean, he should once he's back, I think he'll be all right. I'm not too worried about it being a lingering thing.
Unless you are like, I don't know what the only situation you would do that is if you are one loss away from elimination and Chase is potentially ruled out and the guy would still do it. If you're absolute win now, then I would be interested. But otherwise, you're trading the 2 better players for the two downgrade players. Though I'm still in the camp that I really like Mark Andrews. I think people are disparaging him. If he had caught that touchdown this week, we wouldn't even have the conversation. But
yeah, no, I still like Andrews as well. Just between Andrews and Kelce, I'd rather have Kelce.
I hate him. Just kidding. I like Mark Andrews too.
Maria said, LOL, you right, Coop. I don't know what you write about, Coop, but you right, Coop.
You be knowing. I think probably about repealing the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961. I just tweeted about it. Not getting a lot of it. Not getting a lot of attention yet.
You should reach out to Brock Osweiler to be the spokesperson for
the
repeal the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961 spokesperson, Brock Osweiler.
Smock Osweiler. Dude, once we get Brock on the team, I feel like we could really gain some steam with this. If you're out there, that tweet could use some likes. So far, there are none. Probably because
do your boy a favor.
Probably because most people, like myself, have never read that act and don't know exactly what it is. But all I know is that if it's preventing football from being every day, it's got to go down.
I'm not sure my relationship could survive football every day. My relationship or my job quality would have to would have to decline. Like I'd be worse at my job or worse in a relationship if there was football every single day.
I mean, you do talk about football every single morning.
Right. No, what I'm
I
saying
guess
is
except
I would
Saturday.
be worse. I would be worse at talking about it because either I would have to not watch football every single day or sacrifice my relationship to watch football every single day.
That's true, dude. Or you would, at the very least, you would fall way behind Leanne in making dolphin noises because you just wouldn't.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have
really
the time.
pull ahead.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to put in the work.
I'd be like, it's Tuesday Night Football, and all of a sudden I just hear from the other room.
She just rewind. She's sitting there. She's sitting there rewinding Flipper over and over, and you're like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm watching tape."
Flipper was watching tape.
I'm doing film.
Flipper was a good movie, bro.
Strong. I think it was more of a
Shout out
show.
Flipper. We had a question from Javier come in here. He said, "Hey guys, pick 3 out of this group. 12-team full PPR. I'm 6-6 and looking to make the playoffs. I'm in the 7th spot currently. So we need to pick 3 out of these players: Michael Pittman, Christian Watson, Rachaad White, Gabe Davis, and Chris Olave." So Pittman, Watson, Rachaad White, Gabe Davis, and Olave. Rachaad White and Olave, I think, are locked in for me. And then it comes down to Watson versus Pittman.
That's tough, man. Do you want that shiny upside, the shiny new thing in Christian Watson? I feel like I do. Touchdowns every day, dude.
And we did get reports that Aaron Rodgers had good reports come back after his scans, and he's expecting himself to play this weekend. So we should have Aaron Rodgers back in this offense. Yeah, I think I roll Christian Watson out there as my third option. Him and Michael Pittman are back-to-back. Pittman going up against Dallas, Watson going up against Chicago. I'll take Christian Watson over Michael Pittman this week.
That is tough. I want to go Pittman, I want to go Watson, but Pittman feels like the safer move.
I think you're right. That's a safer play with Pittman.
But Watson's upside is just ooh-hee.
You're 6-6, dude. Can't hold anything back now. If Rodgers is playing, I think I'm going to go Christian Watson.
You got the triple Christian Watson, and then Rachaad White and Chris Olave. JL, you agreeing on those two as the other guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Rushman here in the chat saying, I'm the exact opposite. I would like all games on Sunday, and especially one Sunday morning game per week. Sunday morning games are the best. And he said, except for the Super Bowl, why the hell isn't the Super Bowl why isn't it on a Saturday night? I'm with you.
Should be on a
man.
Saturday night
Or a Sunday afternoon. Just do it at 3 p.m. on a Sunday.
No, it's got to be night prime time.
Nope. Monday after the Super Bowl should be a federal holiday. That's the answer.
Yeah,
That's the real answer. Everyone should get that day off. Trump might try to make it happen, dude. If Trump ran on that, I mean, I would never vote for Trump. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Like, but he's got a point.
I'd never
But I
vote for
can
Trump,
be
but, yeah. I could just not vote for anybody. You know what I'm saying? I could sit back and be like, hey, whatever happens, happens. Sometimes the boys got to go to the Capitol. You know what I mean?
And Javier said no Gabe Davis, right? Too risky. Yeah, going against New England, given those other options you have, not doing it.
Yeah. Dude, what do you guys make of this? I know it's probably nothing, but what do you guys make of this Bills bringing back John Smokey Brown?
Oh, I did see that. That is
he's back on the practice
good for
squad.
him.
And the rumor, though, so there's a rule within the CBA where you can have guys on your practice squad and call them up and then send them back down 3 times without penalty. The Saints were doing that, I think, with their kicker for a while, just to like kind of, you basically get a free roster spot because you can call the guy up, send him back down. They ran out of one of the guys, Tanner something or other. They ran out of uses for that guy, so they can't do that anymore. And so the rumor is they're going to do that with John Brown. So what do you guys think?
I have bought into John Brown so many times. Like, he's been one of those players that when he's been on the field and been healthy, he's been exciting, right? Like, we got some exciting years out of John Brown, some exciting games maybe is a more accurate way to say it, out of John Brown. But I'm not making anything of it for fantasy. Maybe he can have a game or two, find some success, but it's not getting me. It's not getting my jimmies rustled for fantasy football.
Yeah, good for him, man. Good for him. He's a good dude. And he's definitely dealt with some stuff over his career. So I like John Brown, and I hope that this is a good opportunity for him. Fantasy doesn't doesn't matter. But
Dustin said
for
no.
the first.
No, John Brown. Stop it.
Stop it.
He's,
Stop hooping.
Well, the thing with John Brown is like he's our generation's Deshaun Jackson, where he's still very fast, right? You don't get the nickname Smoke if you're not fast. So, and even if he doesn't produce, teams have to respect the speed. You know, we have got a big arm quarterback. You put that guy on the outside, so he could open things up for other guys. But I don't think, and at some point, if he's playing, he's going to catch a 50-yard pass. Like there's no doubt about it. But you're never going to be able to guess when. So I have no interest in fantasy.
Yeah.
Rushman in here saying, I got to go walk the dogs. It's dark. It's 18 degrees. It's snowing. Can you guys do it?
Yeah, we got you, Rush, man. Let's go, boys.
All right.
Yeah, we'll be right back, everyone. We got to go walk Rushman's dog.
Where do you live, Rushman? Whoever's closest has to go do it.
Probably not me if it's 18 degrees, if we're being honest.
Snowing.
But it's still dark, so it could be on the west side.
Could be west, so then it would be me.
I bet it's Denver or Colorado or something like that. Because I know some people in Colorado who've been getting some snow. Minnesota. I was wrong.
All right.
Never mind.
Scott Fish is on it.
Scott Fish is on it. We got it.
Scott Fish is on that.
Give him a call right now.
Yeah, Scott Fish will be at your door in about 20 minutes to walk your dog. He'll be ready to go. We also had a question come in here.
The FYF
Bronson
experience.
following up. Would you guys do Deshaun Watson for Mark Andrews? It's a 2 tight end league, and his tight ends are currently Higbee, Fant, Hunter Henry, and Darren Waller. So Mark Andrews.
Now we're talking.
For Deshaun
Bronson.
Watson.
Now we're talking.
Would you do that, John Luke?
Mark Andrews for Deshaun Watson, I think, is far more fair than the other trades you brought to us here. If you need, I mean, I would make that move if that's what you want to do. If that makes your team better. I don't know who your other QBs are, who your other tight ends are. That would affect if I was going to make the decision which side I would go on. But I think the value is there right now, according to Alex's trade value charts in a 2 QB league. I don't think he has 2 QB combined with tight end premium though. But at least in this 2 QB league, it's Deshaun Watson. I said was tier 4, 36 trade value points. Mark Andrews is tier 3 at 43. So there's a bump up there.
Yeah,
and this isn't. He did not say tight end premium here, just so we know. We don't know if there's any premium tight end. But 2 tight end.
But
so,
yeah, he doesn't have the combination of 2 QB and 2 tight end
right
in these charts. So very likely tight ends would be more valuable than these charts are indicating.
And when it comes to rankings, like people love to make the joke, like, "Oh, Travis Kelce's tight at tier 1, and everyone else just starts at tier 4." Blah blah blah. But there kind of is some truth to that. And Trade Daddy's charts actually do a good job of illustrating that. Where, in my opinion, it's tier 1 Kelce, tier 2 Mark Andrews, and then there's nobody in tier 3, and then it jumps down to tier 4. But that chart does illustrate that there are gaps there, and I think that if you can get Mark Andrews, I would go ahead and do it. The guy plays every single snap. Essentially, he has not pass blocked on a single play all season, which is crazy. I mean, even a bunch of wide receivers will pass block from time to time. So the fact that he hasn't pass blocked yet one time just goes to show that he is the true focal point of that offense, which you can't say for anyone else except Kelce.
Yeah. Guys, coming up, we are going to play one of our favorite games, Quotey McQuote Face, and then we'll be going against some of our own takes in contrapuntal. We got to answer Reddit's toughest question today as well. And then, like we've mentioned, Alex, aka Trade Daddy, aka Peaked in High School, is joining the show to talk about his trade value charts with us a little bit later today as well. You're watching the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt.
Body didn't change,
We'll never know that for sure either.
Nah, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
I just get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The 1 year player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it, and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but
in the 90s, was there besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame though that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
And he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that, all those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man.
Yeah.
So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15 to his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We are about to get into our game called Quotey McQuote Face, the game where the contestants are required to guess who said a quote and why they said it. So John Luke is going to propose some quotes to Coop and I. We're going to have to tell him who said the quote, what the context of said quote is. There's 2 points available for every quote. You get the name and the context correct, you're going to get 2 points, but you miss either part, your opponent's going to have an opportunity to steal those points from you. That's how it's going to work. We'll get into it in a moment. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Kool-Aid
yeah.
Man style.
Who said
Dustin
what?
in the chat saying I might be a UAB fan now. Not only do they have a sweet dragon logo, which they do, the UAB Blazers, every year, whenever it comes up around NCAA tournament time, I feel like that's when we start talking some UAB. Are they going to be in? I'm just reminded how sick their logo is. But he said they are now hiring Trent Dilfer to be the head coach. Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl winning quarterback Trent Dilfer is going to be the head coach of the UAB Blazers.
That's spicy. I love that. I love
That is
that
spicy.
stuff, man. Anytime it's a guy who I like, I want those exciting picks, dude. I don't want the same old recycled dudes. Like Auburn hiring that guy Freeze after all the stuff that's gone on with him.
Jackass.
Disgraceful, dude. That guy better be I just feel like with coaching, how could he be that good at coaching that you overlook all that other stuff?
Well, I don't think he is. Like that's the other thing. I don't think what's his track record? He had a good year at Ole Miss while cheating. So you are like on top of all the character concerns, like his best seasons, there were serious NCAA violations that occurred. So I don't know, man. Auburn, get your shit together with your coaching hires. That's ridiculous. You'd think like an up and coming coordinator would have been like a better hire for them, right? Then going back to the well with someone with as much baggage as Hugh Freeze without the proven track record that some of these other coaches come with. I really thought we were going to see Matt Rule to Auburn is what I thought we were going to see. But instead we got Matt Rule to Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken. That's where he ended up going.
Does he still making his like $40 million a year or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like he gets that even if he picks up another job?
He's making – the Panthers are paying him. They're paying that man, and then he gets the Nebraska money too. That's what I'm saying. If I was
man in the world.
If I was Matt Rule, I would not have taken another college head coaching job. I would have taken no other job and just taken the $60 million that the Panthers gave me and been like, thank you. And I'm
Call of Duty. let me stuff my cargo shorts with this money.
Now I got to go complete my Pokédex.
CFC in the chat asking AJ Dillon on my waivers, is he worth a pickup?
Who'd you drop, CFC? Let us know who you drop. But I think he's worth a pickup in most formats, depending who you'd have to part ways with.
Yeah, I completely agree with Coop. All right, boys, ready to get into our game of Quotey McQuote face?
I've never been more ready for anything in my entire life.
I love the name of this. That Coop just named this after Bodie McBoatface.
Sometimes you just got to throw them out there and they stick. Sometimes you hit home runs on the first pitch.
Yeah. He said CFC did come and said 14-team league. I dropped Terrace Marshall. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. Absolutely.
Drop Terrace Marshall. Do it.
You guys tried to make me believe in Terrace Marshall again earlier this year. Terrace Marshall tried to make me believe in Terrace Marshall again earlier this year. I'm not falling for it.
I don't know that it's Terrace Marshall's fault all that much. It's more the QB situation there.
Yeah.
But it's fair, Simon. It is fair. All right, guys, let's get into our game of Quotey McQuote face. Coop, you will be going first on this one. We'll be going turn order here. You ready?
I am ready.
All right, here is your first quote, Coop. It all started before the game. This fan, when we came out of the tunnel, held up a sign, 3-7, not bad for a team with no talent. And he was screaming at us, all this bad stuff. I just looked up at him and said, thank you for that. I needed that today. You turned me up.
Wow.
Want me to say it again?
No. I know exactly.
No.
I should know what this is, dude. 3-7. You turned me up. There were
I'm having trouble remembering which teams have exactly.
That's
wins.
what
I mean. Like I know the bad teams, but I don't know which ones have 2, which ones have 4, and which ones have 3.
Exactly. You turned me up.
That's the phrase I locked on.
Can you do it one more time? One more time.
Of course. It all started before the game. This fan, when we came out of the tunnel, held up a sign. 3-7, not bad for a team with no talent. And he was screaming at us, all this bad stuff. I just looked up at him and said, thank you for that. I needed that today. You turned me up.
I got it. I heard it that time. I'm very confident, Coop, if you miss this.
You're very confident that if I miss it, you're going to get it. You turned me up. You
turned me up so I can stand on mountains.
Beautiful.
You turned me up. Just trying to help you out, Coop. You got it now?
Yeah, I do have it. Was it Jacoby Brissett?
Talking about what?
Talking about winning his last game against the Buccaneers.
That is wrong. Bonk. Double wrong. Simon, you have an opportunity to steal here. Both points are available to you. Who said this and what are they talking about?
This is the player that got turned all the way up this weekend. Las Vegas Raiders running back Josh Jacobs said this about the game before he went off for 300 yards. There was a fan in the crowd with a sign that said 3-7, not bad for a team with no talent. And Josh Jacobs took that personally and had over 300 yards from scrimmage.
Simon? I'm sorry. That is correct. Well done. 2 points for you. Josh Jacobs on his Week 12 performance is correct.
Turned up.
You nailed it. Turned up. You turned me up. Turned me up. Simon, you're going to get 2 points for that. Stealing Coop's points.
I was thinking Devontae Adams, the first run through, and then you read it again. And the way it started, like it all began before the game was so like storytelling. Know what I mean? I could just hear Josh Jacobs like going into like a story like that. He's a storyteller whenever he talks. Go listen to his post-game interviews. The dude knows how to craft a story.
Man, I saw him do an interview live in person. It was Matthew Berry interviewing him before I think Matthew Berry and him got mad at each other. And it was so good. It was a really good interview. And he is a pretty good storyteller, actually, now that I think about it. It's a good interview. 2 points, putting you in the lead here, and you get the next quote, my friend. You get the next quote. It's yours. So you have another opportunity to score points here. Here is your next quote. It's awesome going out there and playing football with your friends and guys you've been going out there and playing football with your friends and guys you've been with for a couple years now. When it wasn't my time to play, obviously, I was super supportive and having fun with them too. But just to be out there and be a part of it and help the team win. Simon, who said this? What are they talking about?
There's 2 different ways I think this could go. I'm torn between 2 players. And I think it's going to be the less obvious one. I'm going to go with this is Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers talking about their win over the Denver Broncos after he came back and got the starting job.
You're going with Sam Darnold talking. Say one more time.
Sam Darnold, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, talking about getting the starting job back and winning the Denver Broncos. That's where he's talking about and helping them win. They got that win against the Denver Broncos.
Simon, that is
incorrect.
Wrong.
If it's the other one, if it's the obvious one, I'm going to be really.
Can I hear it one more time?
Yes, you may. And Coop, this is your opportunity to steal. Both points are available to you. Here is the quote one more time. It's awesome going out there and playing football with your friends and guys you've been with for a couple of years now. When it wasn't my time to play, obviously, I was super supportive and having fun with them too. But just to be out there and be a part of it and help the team win.
See, now, I don't think that that's something that, because it's a couple years now. So I don't think it's not something Jimmy G would say. And I don't think it's Jacoby Brissett. So I got to go with the guy that Simon has dubbed Magic Mike White.
I'm going to fight you.
Talking about the Jets' victory this week.
You are going with Magic Mike White, Simon's pet name for Mike White here. Favorite nickname ever that he came up with all on his own. On how on what was it exactly? What was the context?
How much he loves him.
On how much he loves him.
Oh, the context. Oh, of the Jets winning this week.
The Jets winning
him coming in to play
quarterback
the Jets winning. No, that was the context of Simon making up that nickname, which he is
right. Coop, that is correct. You stole both points back from Simon here in a nice little twist.
There's few people that could have said it.
Also, it's getting so twisted. Dustin said I named him the White Savior. No, I said Mike White Knight is what I said. No one calls him the White Savior. No one here is saying that. No one saying Magic Mike. No one saying White Savior. It is. He is the magic. Oh, I give up.
You did it.
I'm doing nothing.
Yeah,
I'm never talking about Mike White again.
You said Magic
Mike White. You are now my version of JL's Kirk Cousins, just because, and it's not your fault. I'm sorry. Like if you go on to have a successful career, they did it to me, not you. Like it's nothing you've done, man. Just everyone else has made me hate you.
Are we witnessing this is basically like a super villain
arc.
The arc,
beginning of his arc
story.
100%. This is like the equivalent of when Two-Face, gets blown up. And Batman.
I'm now a nickname-based villain where I give everyone nicknames they don't want. I just run around.
So basically Donald Trump.
It's like Poopy Coopy.
Poopy Coopy.
Shifty Adam Shift.
Oh man. So the score is tied here. We are going into round 2. Is 2-2. Coop, you stole from Simon. Simon, you stole from Coop.
I got too cute. I got way too cute with that one. I was like, it's either Mike White or Sam Darnold, but I bet it could have been
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett.
Could have been Jacoby Brissett.
Could have been Brett.
We had Lucius come in here. Good morning, Lucius. Said, rank these QBs this week, if you would please. Trevor Lawrence, Tom Brady, or Kirk Cousins.
That order. You already did it for me, Lucius. It would go Trevor Lawrence, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins for me.
Am I going to put Kirk Cousins or am I going to put Tom Brady first? I mean, which one am I going to put in front of you? Trevor Lawrence is the number one for me. And then between those two, I think I'd go Cousins over Brady.
Yeah. Cousins, even though he did have the down week, which is funny because we were just talking about how he always digs these holes but claws his way out. And then the next game he did against the Cowboys, he did not claw his way out. Not at all. But he came back against the Pats here, and you can trust Cousins. So I'm gonna go Cousins.
I mean, he's got a relatively tough matchup against
the Jets.
This week. I just called him Tom Cousins.
Brady's got the Saints.
Tom Cousins.
The Saints are a middle of the road pass defense though against opposing quarterbacks. The rush defense is where I'm really scared of.
Not when Marshawn Lattimore plays.
You're right.
Is he playing though? He might not be.
I think he's expected to play, but that really generally he shadows Mike Evans whenever he plays against the Buccaneers, right?
he not only shadows Mike Evans, but he annoys him to the point where they usually get in some sort of fist fight, right? Like pretty much every time, if not every other time.
He's the world's most annoying shadow.
Truly, though.
World's most annoying
Since
shadow.
Cortland Finnegan.
Craig
Well,
in here
Peter
saying
Pan.
Jameson, Eliana, Lorelai, and Emerson are listening to you all on the way to school. Any advice today? Ooh, I think we got some good advice.
I got some advice for you. When you're in the lunchroom, it's your time to shine. That's where you can be the celebrity. Okay. So when you are in the
This part of
lunchroom,
the show.
if you got to squeeze an orange on your head, you got to squeeze an orange on your head. If you got to eat the ants crawling under the table, you got to eat the ants crawling under the table. But that's where you can earn your fame in school, is in the lunchroom, because also it's less monitored than every other room in the school. So I'm not saying be bad. I'm saying do some stuff that makes you the star.
He's not saying be bad, but if you're going to be bad, be good at it.
Be good at it. My advice is don't worry about what anyone else in that school thinks. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Just own it, because all those other kids, they're going to be completely different in like 5 years, and they're not even remember any of that.
100%.
And here's my advice. If possible, unless they're being mean to you, be friends with everybody. There's no reason not to be honest, man. All it means is you have more friends. You know what I mean? And there's some people out there that might not have that many friends and could use a good friend. So just do your best to be nice, be friends with everybody, and you'll have more friends than everyone else. Unless people are being real mean to you, those are the only people that I guess you can exclude. But I would try not to be mean to them. Just be like, hey, you know what?
They're probably insecure.
Take a step back. But look around. Look around the room. There's probably people there that have done nothing wrong that could use a good friend. So try and be friends with everybody. And also, like Simon said, be bad. And if you're gonna be bad, be good at it.
Craig,
all right.
Mixed bag of advice right there.
Mixed bag of advice.
He's like, I'm never asking again.
I forgot to add.
Like, what?
I forgot to add. Never do your homework the night before. Just do it in the class before that class. So do your period 2 homework and period 1. Oh, sorry, that's probably not good advice.
I had this really weird habit for a while where I would wake up early to do my homework, my math homework and stuff, because I didn't want to do it the night before.
That's growing up, dude.
And it was a nightmare. I hated it, but I did it all the time because it was the procrastination was so bad.
Dude, my buddy used to wake up super early, do his homework, and he would make himself lunch secretly so that he would still get lunch money, and then he would save up his lunch money to buy video game stuff.
That's
that.
Smart.
I mean, that level of being so irresponsible that it makes you responsible.
It goes the other direction.
If being irresponsible takes you more effort than being responsible, reevaluate. Because I did that as well. There was a point where I was sending fake progress reports from an email address that I created that looked like the one from my school to my parents to hide my grades. I went into the system and hit you know what would have been easier? Studying or doing my homework instead of going through all the effort to send them that. Just do the work. You got it.
All right, guys, let's get into our next round here. Our final round of Quotey McQuote Face. Quotey McQuote Face. Coop, we are back to you. You ready for your next one?
Yeah.
Here it is. Ups and downs. It's taking it one day at a time. Every week is a new week. You got to bring your best, and you're going to get beat in the NFL. So I'm going to enjoy it and get ready to go next week. One more time, I'll say ups and downs. It's taking it one day at a time. Every week is a new week. You got to bring your best, or you're going to get beat in the NFL. So I'm going to enjoy it. Get ready to go next week. Who said this? What are they talking about, Coop?
At first, I was thinking it was somebody that had lost the game, but now it sounds like he won the game. If he's going to enjoy it, got to bring your best. Golly,
this is tricky.
It could be anybody. I'm gonna go ahead and say, who out there is just going to enjoy it? Probably, I feel like Kenny Pickett is kind of a guy that'd be like, I'm just gonna enjoy it. So give me Kenny Pickett.
Talking about
winning this week against the Colts on Monday Night Football.
Coop, that is half correct. This is Kenny Pickett. Simon, you have an opportunity to steal in the context here. What is Kenny Pickett talking about?
Can you give it to me one more time?
Oh, I can give it to you as many times as you want.
Oh, Britney Spears.
Happy Wednesday.
Ups and downs. It's taking it one day at a time. Every week is a new week. You've got to bring your best or you're going to get beat in the NFL. So I'm going to enjoy it and get ready to go next week.
Well, this is Kenny Pickett talking about he did win that game, but there was a loss right afterwards in the locker room as he challenged, of course, TJ Watt to a rap battle in the locker room, and he lost said rap battle, but he's just enjoying it with his teammates, and he's getting ready for their rematch next week.
Final answer?
Final answer. Never been more confident in anything.
I should have known there was a rap battle.
Bonk. This is much simpler. Kenny Pickett describing his rookie season. How his rookie season is going. So no points, Simon, on that one. Coop, you will get 1 point, putting you in the lead here. And Simon, you have an opportunity to win here. If you nail this next quote, both of the points. You got to get both of the points. You're going to win. If you only get 1 point, Coop, you're going to tie with Coop. But Coop will have the opportunity to win. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Go, Coop.
You know, as always, killing it on Quotey McQuote face today.
You guys been doing well.
We've been kind of killing it.
Misses.
Pretty good.
Keith did a good job of getting the quotes today. Shout out, Keith. All right, Simon, here is your last quote. And as always, play along in the chat. We love it when you play along.
And I got it closed.
Here is your quote, Simon. I just can't say what a complete team win that was. And I mean, shout out Dewey for coming in there and punching one out. Foyer, I saw him flying around all day. Arden Key, Trayvon Walker trying to get to the quarterback. That was a complete team win.
Are you just trying to embarrass me in front of my IDP friends? Is that what you're doing here, JL? Is this quote sole purpose to embarrass me in front of my IDP friends?
Came up with the quotes. I did not come up with the quotes. Take it out.
You just rattled off a bunch of players, and I'm sitting here going like, I know where they. I know them. I know those guys.
I'll read it one more time here. One more, additional time here. I just can't say what a complete team win that was, and I mean, shout out Dewey for coming in there and punching one out. Foyer, I saw him flying around all day. Arden Key, Trayvon Walker trying to get to the quarterback. That was a complete team win.
I've just lost this game because I'm blanking. I'm going full panic mode. Absolutely full panic mode here. I've got a couple teams in mind, and I can't decide. Full team win. Who's the team that won a big game this weekend?
Trayvon Walker was their first round pick this year.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with out of UGA, right? Trayvon Walker. Okay, then that means this was
competition.
This was.
I don't like to see the man struggle. I know he knows the team.
It's Trevor Lawrence talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars winning against the Ravens this weekend.
Simon, that is half correct. The context is correct. You're talking about the comeback win against the Ravens this past week, but it was not Trevor Lawrence who said it. Coop, you have the opportunity to win this game right now. If you can nail this quote, if you can properly attribute this quote, you can win it. Who said this?
Much
I
like
want
you.
to say I'm cheering for you. I'm pulling for you because you saved me. Like as soon as you said he was the first round pick, I was like, oh, I got it. Okay, now I remember. I wasn't thinking of him as a rookie, but now I'm hoping you win this.
But your mistake, much like you and everyone else from Clemson, Trevor Lawrence doesn't know the names of that many defensive players. There's no chance that he knows all those names. Had to come from somebody higher. Had to come from somebody higher up.
They're all this big guy to him.
I'm going to say this one came from the top. I honestly, because he's talking about the defense as if he's not a part of the defense. So I don't think it's a player. And I don't think, it's kind of a lot of shout outs for like Christian Kirk to make. So I'm going to say that it was I'm going to say that it was like that it was the coach, Doug Peterson, that just giving some props to the defense there. So I don't know the defensive coordinator's name or anything else. So got to go with Doug Peterson.
I think a lot of shout out for Christian Kirk to make.
Quite a few. To correctly say, what was the guys? Fuji, the guy they got from the Falcons, or was the guy from the Jets? They picked up a couple guys on defense this year when I was like doing my my article, I'm just like, I don't even know. I have no clue how to say these names. What was the name these are there?
It was Dewey, Foyer,
Foyer.
Key.
Yeah, Foyer's first name I think is very difficult to say, but yeah, give me Doug Peterson. Is that right?
Coop. That for the win is incorrect.
Oh.
This was Zay Jones.
Wow, so it was
Missouri
a wide
against the
receiver
Ravens.
that
It was.
knew a
You
bunch
were
of
close
names.
to the Christian Kirk one. So,
Props.
so this game is going to end in a tie, 3-3. Well done, boys. Well done.
Good work,
job,
Coop.
everyone.
Good job.
And
Good
Coop,
job.
You truly saved me from a moment of panic. I was like, I know this. I know
do it.
this. Where isn't it? Why isn't it showing up in my brain?
The
And you saved
Trayvon
me.
Walker was a dead giveaway.
We get by with a little help from our friends.
We
We
get
got-
by with a little help from our
my
friends.
friends. We got Cameron in the chat saying, I got a funny feeling. Last night, while I was deciding on my waiver pickups this week, decided to go with Mr. Benny Snell because I have a weird feeling Najee might be out for the season or shut down. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about Najee Harris?
I think there's a chance. I've seen reports ranging from he'll be ready to go next week all the way to it's a hernia, he'll need surgery, and he'll be out for the season. So while I don't have a funny feeling about Najee Harris, Benny Snell's a good speculative ad, especially with Jalen Warren dealing with a hamstring injury as well. I think that's a good move, Cam. To throw him on your bench, see while this situation plays out. I'm all about it. Also, I was talking about it with JJ a little bit yesterday on the show, JL. And why isn't there like a full push to permanently move waivers to Wednesday instead of Tuesday? Like why don't we wait till we have a little bit more information about these injuries that happen on Monday night, happen late Sunday to make them run on Wednesday? I want Wednesday waivers. The one league I'm in that has it, I love it.
It'll never work, man. Because you can't get everyone to move at the same time. That's the problem. And then you give the people in your league that don't pay attention too much of an advantage. Because like my Wednesday waivers, I always crush those because I'm in so many leagues that I get to see all the bids in real leagues on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I'm like, okay, I have all the information. I have too much information. And so does everybody else. That's why the Wednesday waivers, to me, if you really want to go hardcore, move waivers to Monday night, right after the Monday night game.
Although I don't know if that fully helps you because your league mates all have access to that same information too. So I don't know that it necessarily gives you a huge advantage, but I see what you're saying.
Here's how you make the switch. You got to get the platforms on board. You got to get Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo to change their default settings to Wednesday.
Because people won't change the default.
Go in and actively change it. Because that'll make it. That'll knock out a big chunk of them right there.
And your average Joe came in here and said, "Can you all do a quick prayer for CMC to be healthy for the fantasy playoffs?" Yeah, absolutely. Join hands, fellas.
Everyone, put on your shades.
Roger Goodell,
Joe Lombardi.
Joe Lombardi.
Simon, you're holding your hands too high.
Oh, sorry.
Please keep
old hands,
healthy.
boys.
I'm doing the post-pandemic Our Father at Catholic Mass, where you don't hold hands anymore. You just like hold them near each other. That's what I got going on.
And with your Spirit Airlines.
Amen. Now CMC is going to be. We might have just cursed CMC if we're being honest. That might have been a hex on accident that we just put on him, but we'll take care of that if that is what happened. Your average Joe.
And Dustin said they have pronunciation guides for players' names. And this just reminded me. Dustin brought it to my attention yesterday. He was browsing like the media guides for various teams and found that a lot of them have pronunciation guides for players who have hard, difficult to pronounce names. One of them being Foster Moreau. And it is pronounced, according to the team guide, More-O.
I thought it was Mar-O, like Bar-O.
That's what we've been talking about the last week, but apparently that is incorrect.
So
according to the team guide.
More-O.
Like
we were saying all along. Like we were saying.
Yeah, like we were saying before.
Like we're all out of O. We need some more O.
More O. Yeah, we're all out of O. Hit us with some more O.
Get us some more.
Give me an O. I can't. We're out. Stop asking. We're at the Brins now. We don't have the O.
All right. Well, then somebody look up how to say so that he called that guy by his nickname Foy, but his full name is like Foyasaid Aluakun. So somebody pronunciation guide that one for me. The guy.
Look that one up.
He came from the Falcons to the Jaguars. Because I don't know.
Coming up, we are going to play some contrapuntal. We are going to go against some of the takes that we believe most. We'll be answering the questions that Reddit has. They've got some very important questions for us. And then our friend Alex, aka the Trade Daddy himself, is coming on to talk about his trade value charts and some overall trade values as we head into the end of the trading season for redraft fantasy football. Right now, you're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Rick Kamla at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on Better Sports Network.
Andy Reid is the best current coach in the NFL. He's better than Belichick. Belichick has lost his way. He's better than Tomlin. He's better than Harbaugh. He's better than Shanahan. He's better than McCarthy down in Dallas. He's better than all of the gangster NFL coaches right now. Sean McDermott up in Buffalo, he's better than all these guys. Andy Reid is the greatest gangster that we have at head coach in the NFL right now. And I understand that you're saying, well, Belichick is the GOAT, Cam. How can that be true? Now you're bringing up old stuff. Bill Belichick can't draft anymore, okay? Talk to me. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. Talk to me. DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel versus N'Keal Harry. Okay, talk to me. This dude has lost his way. Remember the year when he should have bottomed out and just tanked, but he couldn't, and he went and got Cam Newton, and they were a mediocre team, right? He's lost his way. And not that he can't coach up a good defense and that kind of thing, but overall, he's lost his way. Andy Reid's an absolute badass. They draft great. He's a great coach, makes the right decisions, when to go for it, when to kick, when to punt. The guy's the man.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I hate the stupid unsportsmanlike conduct. As long as you're not disrespectful to the opponent, you should be allowed to celebrate.
How I used to say it, and to bring up, because now basketball starting to bring up personal.
Oh, dude, it's even worse than basketball, isn't it?
So Dikembe Mutombo, who used to get teed up in the 2000s, the 90s, they didn't give a crap. 2000s, though, when they tightened up the rules, they used to tee him up more when he did the Dikembe finger wag. But they wouldn't tee him up if he did it to the crowd instead of looking at like Eton Thomas. Like one time I remember, and doing it right to him, or when his back was turned, doing it right to him. If he did it to the crowd, they would never call it. And so that makes me wonder if these players, while, yeah, they want to talk a little smack, maybe they should flex towards the crowd than at the player who they're standing over.
I guess.
I know it's soft, man.
It is soft.
Because you know what?
Like we're gonna give 15 yards for that,
bro. They think that, you know, want to know why they're paranoid? They think that's gonna turn into a fight.
See, I disagree with that. That's not going to start a fight.
I agree with you. They don't agree with
us. It's one thing, okay, if you spit in someone's face or say something derogatory, like about their family or something, right, yeah, that can incite it. But if you're just like, yeah, I made that play, what? You know what I mean? Like, again, they know the rules. You got to know you're going to get flagged. You have to have discipline. But, like, I don't know. I have no problem with celebration as long as it's not disrespectful.
What's disrespectful? You know,
it's interpretation, and that's my problem. Watch, it's going to cost someone in a big playoff game, and that's when people are going to go crazy. There'll be a third down play. Someone makes a pass breakup, and they're in someone's face. They're going to throw a flag. It'll extend the drive. That team scores, wins the playoff game because of it. You need something drastic for it to really leave an imprint, and I hope that doesn't happen to my team.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Foyesade Oluokun is how you say it. Dustin brought the pronunciation in the chat, and that is so much better than I thought it was going to be, because you get to start it off with foyer, like you're in a fancy home, like you're in somebody's fancy house. Oh, welcome to my foyer. Sade Oluokun. I messed it up the second time. But now we got it. Thank you, Dustin. We appreciate you guys. We're about to get into our game called Contrapuntal. How this is going to work is we know some takes that all of us have, some strong opinions that we have, players that we love, rest of season, or NFL takes in general. What we're going to do is we are going to make each other defend the opposite position. You have to tell us why that's not going to happen, or why it is going to happen if you think it's not going to happen. And Coop, there's something you've brought up the past couple days, a player whose name has been in your mouth yesterday, today. So what I need you to do is tell us why over the back half of this season, down the stretch, we should not trust Baltimore Ravens tight end Mark Andrews.
Why do we play this game again, dude? I spent so much time.
You named it.
I know, but I spent so much time coming up with reasons why, defending him against the people saying he should not be in the same tier as Travis Kelce, that I have been pretty one-sided on this particular topic. So I mean, I do like about him is obviously his usage, his skill set, but I guess there are a couple things you could harp on. First of all, since he hurt his shoulder, like he's been playing a lot, but he has not played as well as of late since coming back. So you have to wonder if maybe that's still bothering him. I mean, the drop this past week was pretty glaring, and it was one up here. So maybe the shoulder's bothering him. The other thing is that at a certain level, like we always talk about how like top two guys in the offense, it's not a problem. It's not competition. It actually helps them at times to have other guys drawing some of the coverage. Right now, this Ravens team has nobody to take the heat off Mark Andrews. They traded Marquise Brown. Rashad Bateman's hurt. Devin Duvernay's been banged up. DeMarcus Robinson's banged up. It's like they got no one to take the smoke off Mark Andrews. And if you can just smother a guy like that, then, maybe what we've seen from him recently is what you're going to see. You're not going to be able to see him get loose for all these touchdowns if teams are all over him. So those are probably the downsides for Mark Andrews, though. I just can't see a world where you don't find a spot for him in your lineup. Even if you have Travis Kelce, you start him with the flex. So I'm still on board, but those are maybe the downsides to keep an eye out for with Mark Andrews. This game is dumb. We should never agree to do this.
This game is dumb.
This game that I invented is bad. All right. So now that I've had to suffer through that, I get to pick someone.
I guess
Sure.
if we're satisfied with your response, JL, was that good enough?
Do you want to hear
No.
more?
Yeah, I'm not convinced yet that I still trust Mark Andrews is the problem.
I mean,
Still feels
I
like you
do.
kind of trust Mark Andrews.
So, I mean, I guess also this. I guess also if you're, if you have Mark Andrews, you probably don't have, a bye week locked up. He hasn't been that amazing. You spent a pretty high pick on him. The first week of the playoffs, he gets one of the more difficult matchups, a top 5 team versus tight end in the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, it's hard to pivot off a guy like Mark Andrews, but that could be the end of your season if the matchups don't line up right. So Mark Andrews kind of in dicey territory. Plus, Lamar Jackson spending more time fighting randos on Twitter than he is hanging out in the locker room trying to get everything back on track. Another thing to worry about. So it's all doom and gloom for Mark Andrews. Please allow me to escape this.
Somebody's
This
happy.
The matchup, you got me, Coop, with the matchup right there. That's a good point to bring up going into the playoffs.
Fade him.
Whew,
That is fair.
that
All
hurts
right,
you to your
Coop.
core.
All
I'll
right.
accept.
Fine. Okay. Well, I'll get to go then. And I will pick Simon.
Ah,
I will pick Simon because Simon has so many takes to pick from. You do get pretty passionate about players all of a sudden. And this is a player that you've come to like as of recent. You kind of liked him the whole way, but now he's been blowing up. And I'm going to add a caveat to mine, right, to make it even harder for you, because since this is a hypothetical game, I'm allowed to do that. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, we find out today that Leonard Fournette's going to have surgery. He's going to miss the rest of the season. Tell me what would then prevent Rachaad White from being a league-winning back, Simon? What don't you like about Rachaad White?
you just took my out away. Like
Yeah,
you
did.
literally,
You
you literally
100%
were
did.
just
I
like,
was gonna
you
say
just said, "Here's your out. I'm snatching it
Right.
away from you."
Yeah, now you have to make the argument with the
You just
point
like
that Leonard
you just
Fournette is out.
you just ran into the living room. You grabbed the old dusty Bible off the shelf. You opened it up to where you'd hollowed out the
Dusty
pages
Bible.
and hidden the gun, and there's nothing in there. And you turned
It's
around,
empty
and I was
gun,
standing there with
empty
the gun.
outline.
I
in the book.
have the gun out in the book, and you turned around, and me and Jay was standing there, and you're like, well, "How did you
And we
both?"
just clicked the lamp on.
You're like, "How did you both get guns?" JL also has a gun.
I only had one gun.
Yeah,
I brought mine from home.
JL had his own. Now answer. Now you have to answer something, Rachaad White.
I got you. I know how to do this. There's a couple big concerns for Rachaad White. This Buccaneers offensive line this season has not been good. We've seen it with Tom Brady getting hit more than he has in the past, and his frustrations. How many times have we seen him yelling at this offensive line? That being said, Tristan Wirfs is now injured and out for weeks. So this line is just going to get worse. Wirfs was one of the centerpieces, a young centerpiece of this offensive line. He's out at least for the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be rough sledding for Tom Brady back there and for the run game trying to get going. If you thought Tom Brady's release was quick before, just watch what he's doing here. It's all going to be short yardage passes, but they're going to be ready to go, ready to tackle him. So I'm worried about Rachaad White from a rushing perspective, which means he's going to have to get it done through the air. And while those are more valuable targets, it's less reliable than a guy who you can depend on for 15 carries, 80 yards a week, right? So if we're not getting that from him, if they get into these messy game scripts, we may see Rachaad White just not be a factor in this offense because of the poor offensive line. The other thing we've seen from the Buccaneers in the past, they are still in the playoff hunt, right? This is a team that even though they're having a bad season, they can easily win their division. And if they can get it right in the playoffs, they have Tom Brady. You never count them out. They potentially, if Leonard Fournette is out for the rest of the season, want to keep Rachaad White healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. So they may mix in some Keyshawn Vaughn in that offense as well to keep Rachaad White healthy so that he can smash in the playoffs. Those would be my two big concerns. The offensive line, especially with Tristan Wirfs now injured for a couple weeks, and then the potential of him splitting the workload with Keyshawn Vaughn to keep him healthy for the playoffs since Leonard Fournette's already out.
Why hasn't he passed the eye test for you, Simon?
Ooh, yeah. You don't think he's good?
What have you seen with your own eyes that
you don't think Rachaad White's a good back?
By the way, if you're just tuning in, we're playing a game Contrapuntal where we have to argue the opposite of how we feel of a well-known take.
Keeping yourselves honest.
Yeah,
it's like devil's advocate.
The eye test that he's failed for me. Let me talk about that a little bit. That I definitely watch him and think he fails the eye test. I'll go.
What don't you like?
You shouldn't have said that. See? I'll let you get it. I'll let you get away by saying you shouldn't have said that.
He profiles very much like a David Johnson style back, but I think that is wishful thinking. I haven't seen enough from him yet to know that he can overcome the issues with this offensive line and still find success. So we'll have to see if Rachaad White can continue that. It was a great game. He was a great prospect, but he came in not to be a workhorse back. I feel like the dude, his best use case in this offense is probably as a third down back, as a change of pace back, but they're going to force him into this full workhorse role. I'm not sure he's the kind of back that profiles for a full workhorse role.
Well done, Simon. Well done.
Yeah.
Oh, God, why'd you make me do that? This is a player like Coop. You're right. I get excited about players quickly. It's all about the passion, and it happens quickly. And Rachaad White's been one of my, I just love watching that guy play. That hurt. That hurt me to my core.
Just when you thought this offensive line couldn't get any Wirfs.
Oh,
that's
pretty good.
That's a smart joke, boys.
Nailed it.
Look out for those.
Adam in the chat said, "Morning, gents."
Morning.
I ended up picking up. I don't know why I'm giving him a southern accent. I ended up picking up the Seahawks defense and started them over the Eagles this week. What y'all think? I could also scoop the Bucks.
There you go.
I watched a documentary on the Murdoch family. Are you guys familiar with this whole story? It's like
you've texted me about it.
It's like a South Carolina family that just the dynasty. They just basically ran this little town, and they're all South Carolina southern accents. Everyone in the show. So
we should.
How do you spell their last name?
Murdaugh.
Okay, I was just thinking we knew a guy in college with the last name Murtaugh, but it's a different last name entirely.
Oh yeah, I think it's different.
I was like, was he part of the ruling elite of South Carolina? And I had no idea.
I don't think so.
I think it was the y'all in there that got you going. But I think we should say we should allow, if you ask a question in the chat, you should be allowed to say in parentheses up front in a British accent.
Read in an accent.
Please let us know your
as long as it's not
regional
offensive,
dialect,
we'll do it.
and we will read it in your regional dialect.
We can say your dialect, or you can choose a dialect, choose your own adventure if you'd like. But I wasn't even listening to what was said. So I have to go.
The Seahawks defense is a phenomenal start.
In a southern accent, Simon.
Seahawks defense is going to be a great start against them Los Angeles Rams. The Buccaneers aren't a bad start against the New Orleans Saints. They ain't been doing much offensively recently, but I'm probably going to roll out there with them Seahawks. Rams ain't doing shit, bud.
I like that.
That's right.
Last ride.
That's right.
Let's ride.
Let's ride. Let's
Last
Russell
ride.
Wilson comes in with a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. Let's ride.
Just changes his entire persona. He's like, guys, I know the last persona wasn't working.
New week, new me.
New Russ, dude. Pew pew.
Pew pew. John Luke,
All right.
you ready to defend a take that you wholeheartedly believe?
I am prepared. Hit me with it. Which one am I doing?
John Luke, we talked about this yesterday, and as a group, I think we have agreed on this, but you have a differing opinion here for some reason. I believe that non-contending teams should be allowed to make waiver transactions unless specifically stated in the rules. But I need you to tell me why teams knocked out of playoff contention should stop making waiver transactions, even if it isn't stated in the rules that they have to do so.
All right, this is easy. I gotcha. You see, there's two types of people in this world. There's winners, there's losers. Winners are the only ones that matter. And when you're winning, you don't need a bunch of losers coming in and trying to make it difficult for you to win because you're a winner. And so non-contending teams, you already lost, you're out of the playoffs. I don't need you come in here making transactions. It doesn't matter what you do. It does not matter what moves you make because you've already lost. And so you might as well quit, probably never play again, and just give up because you suck so bad. And people like me who don't suck should be allowed to make moves. You know, we should have first priority to the best talent on the waiver wire because we are better than you. That's just how it works. I'm sorry that the world works this way. I did not create the universe. Just living in it. Just living in it, baby.
Fantasy football capitalist John Luke Garofalo is what we got
Fantasy
right
football Machiavellian.
Kind of mean. Kind of in your face, dude. Sorry, I thought at first I thought it was gonna be like a nice like dad speech. You know what I mean? You're like, son,
there's two types of people in the world.
Then it just went to into this like
there's two types of pee-pee in the world.
There's two types of peepees in the world. There's
pee-pee in the snow and there's pee-pee in the toilet.
There's the Peages of the world that make it
and
happen.
There's the Deeges.
And then there's the Deeges of the world. Although Deej did make it happen this week. Yeah, but then you went full like we are the champions
Just
on us.
arrogant asshole, yeah.
No time for losers, right? Good Lord.
John Luke, I'm not convinced though. Like, what if there's a losers bracket and I still want to compete there? It's to win amongst the losers, like as you so eloquently called us. But why do I have a matchup against them? Like, yeah, there's someone I'm playing.
Why do I have a matchup if I can't make waiver ads?
Listen, you have a matchup because it's math. It's math. You have to have a matchup. There's a certain number of teams in the league. You got to have them face off against each other. The losers bracket, what are you winning for? It's a consolation prize. This is part of the generation that feels like everybody needs a participation trophy. And you know what? I am against that. We don't need participation trophies. Only the number one best person on top should have a trophy. Everybody else should suck it.
Damn, dude, that went Fox News, Dad, towards the end there, bro.
Boomer rules right there.
Yeah.
Sounds like my league is run off of boomer principles, and that's how we do everything.
Boomer through and through.
Man, that's my favorite argument, though, the participation trophies one, because I'm sitting there going, like, I was 7. You gave me the trophy.
You decided this.
You gave me the trophy. I didn't come out and be like, I demand a trophy for playing youth league soccer.
Yeah,
no.
This is your choice. You were the generation in charge of buying the trophies.
The dad's buying those trophies, making them soft, man. You just gotta not even a little trophy.
Not even a little.
No, like
this is the part of the show.
Toilet.
This is the part of the show where we have to remind anyone that just joined us that the point of this is to have JL defend the opposite side of what he believes. And I think you did a good job there. I'm going to give you the points there because that is, you are, I will say, the number one argument is that you are taking away from the teams that are actually competing. And you could be butterfly affecting some of those outcomes. It's just my opinion is that if I have a matchup, I'm in the league, I would be changing the outcome by just letting you get a good defense. You know what I mean? You should have had
you're
the good,
impacting it either way.
Right. Like if you two are playing the championship and Simon had the foresight to add 2 defenses 2 weeks ago, and then I just let JL get a good defense, isn't that also impacting the matchups?
Yeah.
There you
Now
go.
people don't look at the other end of it.
I think the
about it like-
people, if you're
like the
complaining
World
from the
Cup-
championship, I think you're trying to get that you're trying to get the easy way out. You're trying to get that free trophy, you know?
Think about it like in other sports. They do this like in real sports. In the World Cup right now, we'll use what's going on right now. In the group stages, there's still to be played in the group stages. And there are teams that are fully eliminated from World Cup contention that cannot move on, that are still going to play that game. And they're going to play to win, even though they can't move to the knockout stage. It could knock another team out of the knockout stages that they win with no benefit to that team. But it's the game. It's the rules of engagement that they signed up for. This is how the tournament works. And even though that team's knocked out, they're still playing this game and they've got something to play for. Just that win.
Yeah. I think the way to have the fairest league is everybody plays to win every week. That is how you get the most fair outcome or ranking ending outcome there. I know I'm now arguing my actual side. I think
the controversial segment is over.
Okay.
And so now you're doing it.
And also I don't like entitlement when it comes to some of this. Like you're not entitled to the waiver wire, like over your league mates. It's just you're not entitled to have an easier trip in the playoffs. Like win a championship, win it with that, win it on a fair playing field.
Do it. Lucius coming in here saying, have to go to work, guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, Lucius. He said, I'm in a lot of leagues, but my main one, I'm 12-0 in now. Your daily advice has helped me so much, and I appreciate all you do. Keep up the great insight. Lucius, thank you so much, my man. We really appreciate you coming in here and hanging out with us every morning and bringing some of those questions.
And those messages like that, always mean a lot to us. So we appreciate you.
Goosebumps over here. And he said, if you ever told me I'd take advice from someone that dipped fries in applesauce, I'd have called you a liar.
I would have
That's
called
a
me a
step
liar
away from eating soup with a picture of your grandparents.
I don't blame you, Lucius. You're smart man.
You dip fries in applesauce? Who does that?
Simon does that.
And I will say, I found a development in this yesterday. So my girlfriend and I were planning for the World Cup Netherlands-US match this weekend. I'm a dual citizen. I've got citizenship in both countries. Most of my family on my dad's side, all of them live over in the Netherlands. So we were going to do like a house divided, like little mini party at our house, right? And make some traditional Dutch foods and some American foods and watch the game at 9 a.m. on Saturday. When I was looking up some traditional Dutch dishes, there's a dish when translated to English that is called hot lightning. The Dutch are known for their mashes. What this dish is, it's 1 part potato, 2 part apples mashed potatoes and apples in one dish. It makes sense. That's a real thing. Like that's a traditional Dutch dish is mashed potatoes and apple. Hot lightning.
That sounds pretty bad.
I bet it's delicious. I bet it's delicious.
That is disgusting.
Dutch is what it is for sure.
When that story first started and you were like, we're getting ready for the game, I just pictured like one of you with your hand on the fryolator and the other person just mashing up apples, like big stupid smiles on your face. Let's get ready for the game. Make sure we have snacks for all our guests.
At 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday because the game starts at 9 a.m. Tommy in the chat saying Dutchlicious. Dutchlicious.
Dutchlicious is kind of a great nickname, but it's very difficult to say.
That's my new nickname, guys. You can call me that exclusively. Also, Craig came in here and said, I'm on the roof now cleaning the gutter, so please try to be normal and not funny. So don't make Craig laugh too hard or he's going to fall off the roof.
Please be safe.
we shouldn't sing Dutchlicious, make them boys go loco.
Definitely don't do that.
Guys, coming up,
we are going to... Sorry.
I'm going to fight you. Craig is going to fall right off that roof if you sing one more line. We're going to answer some questions from Reddit. They've got the important questions. We've got the important answers. And then our friend Alex Korf, a.k.a. the Trade Daddy, Peaked in High School, is coming on the show to talk through some trade value charts. Right now, you're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
There was a tweet about the refs that had me kind of cracking up the other day because somebody was like, we have the technology to like, track the ball down to a centimeter and figure out, what speed these guys are running on the field. Yet somehow we still mark the ball by
That's my favorite.
a 60-year-old dude eyeballing it, and then we run over with literal chains and measure it. It's like, you think we can probably get that figured out.
The least precise way to measure something, and then like immediately following that up with a super precise way of measuring something.
Yeah, it's like we have
Like if you're a millimeter short of that chain that they bring out there, that they ran out it as best they could in a straight line. But if you like, first they just go here, and then they grab the chains and they run in the straightest line possible. But then if you are 1 millimeter short with that football, doesn't count. Sorry. Couldn't have been human error. You're just short.
That's exactly. And, they bring up the index card or whatever. Meanwhile, they have like, satellites in space tracking how fast Brandon Ayuk ran on an end around. But we can't,
and I can see that number live while he's doing it. Like I can see every player's speed on the screen live.
And I love that. It's like, and not to mention like that dude's trying to make the spot and the player always tosses the ball like right into his face. Right? Like he's coming over to spot it, and it's like every other time the player just like, here you go. Here's another thing to juggle.
On call with Dr. Roto.
If the Giants don't win another game this year, A, I'll be shocked. But B, I'll still think that they're better than they were with Joe Judge. Much better. Because I think Brian Dable's got a lot out of this team already. And I'm seeing what this team could be. See, that's the problem with owners and general managers. I see Nathaniel Hackett and I see a guy who can't get it done. I see Matt Rule and see a guy who never should have been hired. Disaster right away. Sometimes a good coordinator in the NFL is better. I don't even say sometimes. Most of the time, a good coordinator in the NFL is better than a college coach, because the NFL coordinators, they know the system. They've been there. They've played. They've been around it. For the life of me, I don't know why Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a job yet. Deuce Staley is going to get a job. Somebody's going to hire that dude. When you've been around the game, you understand it. These college guys come, they don't know it.
Join the show with one touch of a button. It's Sports Talk 3.0 on Better Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. It's in the game. We're about to get into a game that we call Let's Answer Reddit, or We Answer Reddit. Reddit has some very important questions for us. We have the very important answers for them. John Luke, do you have the questions from Reddit for us?
Oh, I do. I conferred with our good friend Reddit to get some top quality questions here. Let's get into them. Let's get into them. Reddit asks, what are your best fighting tips?
Here's my best fighting tip. Don't throw a punch. You think the punch is the best route to go in a fight. It's not. You're going to hurt your hand, first of all. A head is much harder than you think it is. A punch is not like, also, do you know how to punch? Probably not. Know what I mean? Like you probably don't know how to throw a good punch. So what you want to do is you want to go for the body. You want to make a tackle shot, get them to the ground. Know what I mean? Disarm the fight, hold them down. It's not about landing the KO shot, because also like you don't want to accidentally really hurt this guy. Know what I mean? Like if you're outside, like shit happens where you punch a guy, they fall, hit their head on the curb. Like avoid that. You want to bring them to the ground, disarm it, let someone else pull you off, separate it. Just get it to where there's not fists flying around there. The real fighting tip though is don't fight. Just walk away.
That's the number one fighting tip, is don't get involved if you can avoid it. If you have to, I mean, as Simon said, I actually won a fight once exactly doing that. Like this kid threw a punch and I just like moved out of the way and kind of like he like went by and I kind of just like pushed him in the back and he hit his head on a rock. And he was fine, but the fight was over, so it was easy. It's a little easier that way. And I'll tell you what, like, especially if you see any sort of weapons or you're in any situation where there's bottles and stuff, get up out of there, man, because fights are dangerous. Punches can kill you, but enough people have been, I've seen enough stories, people being killed by bottles or glasses or whatever, that you're better off not fighting. At the end of the day, it's not worth it.
This turned into actual vice, man.
Were you supposed to not give actual advice?
No,
I missed.
you answer it however you want.
I think I missed this segment
the
first time around.
It's good advice. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think my advice for my best fighting tips would be just laugh at them. Just find a way to make fun of them, because most of the time that disarms the situation. And anybody who is an adult, I used to get in fights like middle school and stuff, be like fist fight stuff. As an adult, like any grown man who's like gonna get in a physical fight is a clown. So just make fun of them, humiliate them, and it'll probably hurt their feelings more than being punched.
100%. And if that doesn't work, just make a spectacle. Know what I mean? Like say really ridiculous things. Like just say like
show them your tush.
Say things like, "Oh,
Nobody
you
can
want to
fight
go after
somebody
me?
showing
I'm
your
gonna
tush.
bounce up and down on your balls with a pogo stick." Like just say things that like come out of left field, and they're just like, "What the hell
Fresh
is
Prince
this guy
method.
talking about?"
It's the Fresh Prince method when he's teaching Ashley how to fight. He's like, you just got to be crazy. You got to get the crazy.
Crazier. Crazy.
I've never been in
Mind
a
your
fight
business.
as an adult man. Since I've been in high school, I've never been in a physical fight. I've avoided it. There's been a couple close calls. I remember one time I was trying to get a taxi out of downtown Clemson. I was with some friends who had a little bit too much to drink. We wanted to take a taxi home instead of walking. And I walked up to the taxi and I'm in there. I'm about to like get in, and this guy comes up, shoves me out of the way. He's about 4'10" as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was a good foot taller than this man. He looks up, he pushes me out of the way, says to the taxi driver, "F this guy, I have money." And then I was like, it's your taxi. I'll take the next one, man. Like, no, like I wasn't about to like fight this guy on the street for a taxi. Like if you're going to be
fight that dude,
God, like come
just
on.
wait for him
man.
to start getting a taxi and you just go, well, you should take a bite out of his shoulder. That's how you show him who's boss. That's the real advice. I was just trying to give the PC advice, dude. Biting is the way to go. Headbutt.
Headbutt.
I had a
trouble
buddy
for
in college
headbutting
who
in
was
high
just like
school.
loved headbutting people, dude. Just
We had
loved
Kevin-
starting fights that way.
Oh, just via headbutt. That's such a
Not
such a
smart.
specific way to start fights.
You better be good at aiming those headbutts, dude, because
God, that is a ballsy move.
those can
Kevin in the
backfire
chat-
pretty easily.
They really can. Kevin in the chat said, "My guys, Eagles versus Tennessee or Seahawks versus Rams this week." Seahawks for me.
Seahawks,
man. Yeah, especially if
Rams-
Stafford's out.
Yeah. Stafford's out.
This reminded me one time I accidentally gave bad advice to a friend about a fight. Like it was totally an accident. I didn't understand the advice I was giving him. I was in 6th grade. He was in 5th grade. He went to a different school and we were talking. He was telling me about how much he was getting bullied by this one kid. Like this kid just keep bullying me. And me and my other buddy were like, "Hey, like you got to stand up for yourself. Like you got to stand up for yourself." And we're thinking like, tell him to stop. Know what I mean? Something like that. Well, his dad calls us the next day and says, "Hey,
I remember the story.
Did you tell my son to stand up for himself at school?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "Well, Mark, he's suspended for the next 2 weeks because he tackled the kid to the ground and started choking him and had to get pulled off of him at elementary school, but he didn't get bullied anymore." And it was one of those things where the dad was like, "I'm upset with you, but thank you." Like, you know what I mean? I could not tell him to do that, but his 6th grade friend telling him to do that. This kid was torturing him, but that just reminded me. I didn't mean to tell him to beat up his bully, but then he went to school and beat up his bully.
That's some good advice. We answered Reddit's question here. Tommy said, "I haven't gotten in a fight since freshman high school. Was a small kid, teased on the bus, got up, knocked this big kid out, never had to fight again. High school
Boom.
legend."
Let's go,
High
dude.
school
Yeah, I
legend.
guess
Yeah,
those
that's
stories
real
are
life.
cool,
Don't
but still, dude, they're not worth it at the end of the day. Like that's a cool story. You knocked the kid out, but
high
like
school, I'm about it. You're like a little kid. You know? Whatever.
Pre-armpit
Like,
hair, you can punch whoever you want. The second the
Yeah,
armpit
like
hair
a
comes
little
in, you got to
kid
stop
fight.
swinging.
Little kid fights, probably, not probably as serious. Probably still shouldn't get in one, but
too many fights in high school that I saw end with like brain damage or like a kid with a broken nose. It's like you just don't want to. If you can avoid it, avoid it. That's the real advice.
the next question we got from Reddit here. What's something that's easy to do, but hard to undo? Something that's easy to do, but hard to undo.
There's a lot of things that are easy to do, but hard to undo.
Credit card debt.
hypothetically, getting a giant Alabama A tattooed on your ass is really easy to do, but really hard to undo the giant Alabama A that's permanently tattooed on your ass.
Yeah. You should show it.
Live on air. My ass.
Yeah.
Tommy said the Crimson Hide. Ooh, that's a good question. That was the first one that came to mind, but I feel like that's the easy one. That's the easy one.
Speaking of high school fights, easy to do but hard to undo would be like your buddy's girlfriend. Like you can't can't undo those. So.
You ruined that relationship. Yeah, you've ruined that relationship.
Yeah, you weren't that good of friends anyway.
Dustin said cook pasta. Yeah, it's a a little bit hard
to undo
uncook pasta.
I was trying to figure out a situation where you'd want to undo it.
Oh no! Oh geez.
I feel like I've definitely been there with toast though. You know what I mean? Like once you make bread into toast, you can't untoast that.
I've done that with like Uber Eats or Grubhub, where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have just ordered $50 worth of food.
I just ordered $75 worth of Five Guys. What am I doing?
And there's no cancel button.
Dude, Meat Mansion this past weekend, there were 5 of us. My buddy Drew. He spent $170 at Domino's. At Domino's. Dude.
Did he buy the franchise?
Here's the crazy part. He accidentally put the order in twice. So we got 2 of everything. But at the same time, dude, that means that he spent $74 at Domino's, which is still kind of absurd, right? They're 5 dudes chilling.
That's hilarious. You have a bunch of leftover pizza, I bet.
All of us do, bro. I've had pizza for like 3 days.
Jay said poop your pants. I disagree. I think that's very easy to undo.
You just got to hit the reverse button.
Suck it back in, buddy.
Yeah, you just got to flip a little switch in your belly button to
that's why you have a belly button.
Blow, and it's gonna go right back in, Jay. Come on.
Yeah, if you didn't know that, there is a little switch. You just got to dig deep enough. There's a little switch in there.
Yeah, it makes it go the other way. One that came to mind for me, I just lost it entirely. It was right there on the tip of my tongue.
One that came to mind to me was nothing.
Oh, it is an impression that you make on other people. So if you go into a room and you like sit in front of a room of 100 people and you tell a joke on the first day of class that gets the entire room uproariously in laughter, you're the class clown now. Know what I mean? You're the funny guy. You are the funny guy. By the same token, if you go out there and you say something wildly offensive, that's on you now.
You're the
that's
offensive
who
guy.
You are. You're the offensive guy. Like, and it is hard to overcome those initial impressions, especially when they come in a group setting, right? Because there's that group think and maybe not the individual interaction with each person. So it can take some hard work, some individual conversations to overcome any of those initial impressions.
Damn, that was a deep one, dude.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of like week 1, like, you know, those like early week 1, 2 fantasy performances when the player comes out and it's just like terrible, and then it's just hard to shake the rest of the season. Everybody thinks they're terrible.
You guys get so deep into those. I was gonna say tangle your headphone cord. It's like it's so easy to do that I do it in my pocket sometimes. Like it does it by itself in my backpack, and then when I get on a plane, I'm like, what is this nonsense?
What is this?
We're halfway there by the time I get them untangled.
It takes 45 minutes just to untangle one side of your headphone.
Yeah. It's something I didn't even do most times. Like that's the craziest part. Like I never sat down there and tangled them. So it's incredibly easy.
How do they keep doing that?
Never easy to undo.
Brandon in the chat said, good morning, guys. Good morning, Brandon. Welcome in. Said, do you all feel like Knight can take over as the running back for the New York Jets rest of the season? He looked explosive, and Saleh does come from Shanahan, who loves late round undrafted running backs. Do you see him doing the same?
Donovan Peoples Knight.
Zonovan's Peoples Knight.
Are we gonna make
I actually love that name. That's
I do like it.
I think it's good.
The People's Knight, right?
Be careful. Be careful saying nicknames around here. That's another thing that's hard to shake.
That's a good
nickname that you put on a player. I'm just saying, make sure you're committed to it.
Magic Simon.
Magic Simon.
I'm not responding. I refuse to acknowledge.
Dustin point before we move on to that, actually answer that question. Dustin says, once you say Serplant one time, it stays with you forever. That's true. Can't undo some of the stuff you say on here. And I think, hey, if Michael Carter is hurt, I think there's a real chance, man, because what we know about Ty Johnson is this. He's a very good pass catching back, and very good is probably excessive. He's a good pass catching back, but he's not a guy you want running between the tackles. So there's going to be a decent floor for Zonovan Knight if he can get that early down work. And the upside is taking over the full job, because we know Ty Johnson's probably not going to take over the full job. So, and that's what I look for in these backfields. Is there a guy that can take over the whole thing, like Kyron Williams kind of looks like he's doing? So, yeah, Zonovan Knight, interesting to say the least. Why not?
Yeah. I do like he, depending on how this Michael Carter injury progresses, Zonovan Knight could be very interesting. We've seen whoever is the main guy in that offense be able to make it work, to be able to produce some fantasy points. So I am on board with you, Coop.
Simon?
Coop, you brought up the one concern I have. I think Ty Johnson's going to be involved in the receiving game here, so we'll never get the full workload. But that being said, it's still valuable to have the early downs guy in Zonovan Knight. We'll see. We'll see, though. He's worth a pickup. He's definitely worth a pickup. I'm just not rushing out to shove him into my lineups next week as a full go. I want to see a little bit more.
Yeah, agreed.
Guys, coming up, we've got our friend Alex, a.k.a. Trade Daddy, a.k.a. Peaked in High School, coming on to break down his trade value charts heading into week 13. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt. We'll never know that for sure either.
No, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
To get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The 1 year player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it, and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, was there besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he'd finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame though that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
And he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that, all those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man. Yeah. So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15. To his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Raise the freaking roof, because joining us right now on the show is our friend Alex, aka Peaked in High School. You can find him on Twitter at PeakedInHS_FF. He's a contributor over at The Athletic and 4for4, and he's built the most beautiful trade value charts for all of us. Trade Daddy, welcome to the show.
Daddy. Baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. I said, trade.
Daddy,
Baby, I got your money.
So when are we getting in the studio and we recording that? Like, right? Like,
Oh my
So I don't have to
God.
sing it every time, dude. We gotta get
Yeah.
we gotta get an intro going. Trade that Keith. Let's go. Well, I'm ready. I'm available.
It's got to be our voices though, like slightly
Oh,
off
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it, like
yeah.
but heavily
That's-
produced, like a super produced song, but with our voices doing Trade Daddy.
We'll make it
can't
happen.
wait for that to blow up on TikTok. There's going to be a dance, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm hanging out in a Spring Hill Suites. So sponsored by Marriott. This whole thing is what I hear. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I would love for them to pay for my hotel this upcoming weekend because they did not give me a good deal.
Do you have your own intro song? No, not quite.
That's true. That's very true.
Not quite.
Alex just walks into Marriott's and starts singing Trade Daddy, and they're like, "Oh, right this way, sir. Right
There
this
he
way.
is,
We're
right
trying to Trade
there.
Daddy."
They throw out rose petals. Yeah.
They actually downgrade JL and give his room to the Trade Daddy.
Yeah, I get like the utility closet
Yeah,
now.
there's a broom in here.
You get to sleep in the piles of dirty sheets that are in those big bins that they roll around. That's where you get to sleep, JL. Guys,
Yes.
we brought Alex here this Wednesday and every Wednesday to talk about his trade value charts, the trade landscape. There's no one better equipped to do so than the man behind these charts. Alex, maybe for people who haven't joined us before, do you want to tell us a little bit about what these charts are and how you create them?
Sure. So trade value charts have been around for, I don't know, about as long as fantasy has, right? I mean, they've been around for a while. What I started doing in 2017 was a little bit of a different approach where I aggregated expert ranks kind of as a seed for a model that I built using publicly available trades, Yahoo, Reddit, to build a model to actually adjust running backs versus wide receivers versus tight ends to build a little bit better relationship-based trade value chart. I've been making them since 2017, and they're a little different. I think a little bit more robust and are better market snapshot versus just one expert's opinion. We all have biases and favorite players. You know, Hunter Henry would be tier 2 for JL. Maybe he shouldn't be.
Oh
people
God,
like that.
Could you have picked any other player?
I just remember Clemson. That's all I remember. Oh,
Hunter
Kirk
Henry's not. I don't
Cousins?
think.
Oh no, I meant Hunter Renfro. My bad.
Whoa, hey, dude, the Hunter got in the hen house twice this past week. One of them
did
incorrectly no longer called a touchdown, but in my opinion, the Hunter had 2 hen dogs this week. So why don't you ease up on my boy?
I picked him up. Picked him
Shout
up
out Grapes.
yesterday.
Dude, great playoff matchups for Hunter Henry, by the way. Don't want to derail the conversation here, but I will if I have to. Las Vegas, not great versus the tight end. Cincinnati, they're kind of in the middle of the pack. I think they're actually ranked like exactly 15th. And then playoff week, Miami, who quietly is letting up the 3rd most points to the tight end position this year. So Hen Dog could be getting those hens once again, man. He's on the hunt.
Getting out of pocket with these things.
Trade Daddy's picking him up. I'm picking him up. So JL, you're gonna have to eat it.
I'll eat it.
We've had some questions come in here already. Alex, Craig has a question for you as the trade daddy. He wants to know, even for redraft, are you in favor of no trade deadlines? So what is your opinion on the trade deadline?
Ooh.
It's a good
Trade Daddy loves his trades.
All of my league's trade deadline, most of my league's trade deadline was week 11. I think I only have one league that went till this week. I don't know how I feel. I mean, I've heard arguments each way. Like, I kind of wanted to mimic the NFL because at the end of the day, right, isn't that kind of the goal of fantasy football? But if we did that, it would end in what, week 7, week 8? That's too early. But I have a hard time having teams that are out of the playoffs being allowed to trade with teams in the playoffs unless there's like keeper implications. So that's why I like a week 11 deadline, because usually no one is eliminated really, unless they're like, 0-11, right? Then they're probably out. So that's kind of the middle ground of that's why I usually set it at week 11 or I'm fine with it then. But I don't think I would be okay with no trade deadline. And even in Dynasty, I kind of like a trade deadline like week 13, opening back up and like April 1st. So you just have like a minute to relax.
Yeah, I think no trade deadline just it invites the temptation for collusion, which is like, to me, just it's better to avoid if you can, because you can really get by with more. It's easier to get pull a collusion move if you're able to trade, and it might not look like direct collusion.
I agree with that in Dynasty too, where that's kind of a controversial thing, but like you have to decide. I feel like you should decide if you're going all in or out sooner, right? And then take a little breather there. Just on a similar topic in Dynasty, when do you guys like waivers to get opened back up? Like, do you like to have waivers open from the end of the season through the draft, or does everything kind of freeze for you guys? You do the draft and then it opens. Where do you guys live on that?
I like having waivers open. Just because I like, playing the game. I think the game is fun. And so I think being able to play year round is a good thing. I'm fine also closing it. To me, it's not, I don't have a strong opinion on it. It's just, I personally like to play that way.
My favorite time to open waivers. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, so my favorite Dynasty League, the deadline is this week. It closes waivers after the championship, and then opens everything up, and everyone has to pay by that deadline. But it opens up, I think, either March 1st or April 1st. So everyone just has a little bit of time to chill, but then waivers and trading, and everyone is paid. And if you don't pay, we don't open it, and we kick the person out if they don't pay.
Right.
You beat them up?
Oh, yeah. No, we just find a new manager. Like we just move on. So
then we beat them up.
And then we beat them up. Yeah, of course.
I think what I prefer is as soon as football's done, like after championship week in week 17, then I'm good with a break because we still have football that we're rolling with. We're watching football every week. We got the playoffs. The day after the Super Bowl ends, I want more football. Like I think I'm not going to, but then it ends and I'm like, oh, shoot, now I got to wait. That's when I want waivers open. The second you start having the FOMO, you start like missing out on what you were enjoying throughout the season is when I want waivers open. Always something exciting, whether it's actual football action or waiver action, you got that going for you. We had another question come in here. This one from Adam. Adam said, yesterday I traded Kenneth Walker and Jeff Wilson for DeAndre Hopkins in full PPR. Do you think I won or lost? So we can take a peek at the trade charts for this. Alex, what are your initial thoughts whenever you see Kenneth Walker plus Jeff Wilson for DeAndre Hopkins?
It feels pretty reasonable. Kenneth Walker was a little bit higher last week, was about the same as DeAndre Hopkins. He went down from tier 2 to just the top of tier 3. And then Jeff Wilson, was it just cramps last week? I mean, it's probably too much, but you're tiering up. You always have to overpay, right? Like, and the trade chart's going to say it's 44 plus 30. That's 74 versus 56. So it's an overpay, but you're doing a 2-for-1. You have to overpay. If you have the depth to do it. Jeff Wilson just had cramps, right? Is that because he went back in last week? It wasn't anything real.
Yeah, I don't think it's a long-term thing. Yeah, I think that's too much personally. Two running backs for a wide receiver, typically not a move I like making. I agree with Alex that you got to trade up for those top tier guys, but I don't think the jump from Kenneth Walker to DeAndre Hopkins is big enough to really warrant that massive of a overpay.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but I don't mind it. This is the time of year where I'm a lot more willing to overpay if you're consolidating, right? Like, because now you need fewer weeks of things to go right with these star players, less potential for injury. You just need a couple more weeks to go correctly, the way that you're predicting for one player. Consolidate, build that glass cannon. I'm about it. It's definitely a bit of an overpay, but you got this. It's a good move.
Your exposure is limited because there's, less games. So I'm with you on that. The consolidation. Go big.
Go big, baby. We got another question in here. This one from Big Trev. He said, what up? What up, Big Trev?
What up, Trev? Good to see you, my friend.
DPJ or Gallup. So I don't think this is a trade question, but I am curious what the trade value charts have to say about these three players. Adam Thielen, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Michael Gallup. My assumption is that DPJ is going to be the highest on here. And if he's not, I think that's a crime. It is absolutely a crime if Donovan Peoples-Jones is in the top of these names on there. He's in tier 8 at 9.5. Donovan Peoples-Jones around guys like Darius Slayton, Josh Palmer, Treylon Burks. Where are the other guys? Gallup down at tier 11. And I don't see Thielen on here.
He's up. He's 4 spots ahead of DPJ.
Is this a start-sit question or is this a trade question?
I think it's a start-sit question. I was just curious. That was what I was saying. I don't think this is a start-sit. I'm curious what the value is on these players, though. So Adam Thielen currently rated the highest in the trade value charts. Donovan Peoples-Jones just slightly behind him in tier 8. And then Michael Gallup a couple tiers behind him, down in tier 11. And I'm rolling with DPJ rest of season as the guy that I want to start out of these three guys. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, all three of them have been pretty much fine, but you get the upside of DPJ playing with Deshaun Watson, and that's the difference maker for me, because we've seen him be good with Jacoby Brissett. He could be great with a great quarterback, which is now on the table. So I'm just more excited for DPJ. Like, Adam Thielen isn't going to all of a sudden become, a new version of himself in week 13. We know who he is, but DPJ, there's a narrative for him to be awesome. So give me that. That's what I want.
Alex, do you think DPJ is undervalued on these charts?
No, I don't know. He's really tough because there's a world where DPJ could absolutely blow up with Watson. But isn't there also another outcome where Watson hasn't played football in 703 days and he's terrible his first week? And then you're starting the wide receiver 2 on a team that's been terrible with the quarterback that hasn't played in 702 days. I probably wouldn't start him this week. I would rather start that's just how I play. I would start Gallup over him. Not looking at Gallup's matchup. I haven't looked. I assume it's probably fine.
Gallup is going up against Indianapolis Colts, which is tough. That's a tough matchup for wide receivers.
Who does Thielen have again?
Thielen has the Jets, also a tough matchup.
Also terrible.
Yeah, DPJ has Houston, which they haven't been as bad against wide receivers, but still, it's Houston.
I maybe change my answer to DPJ based on who they're playing.
I think Thielen's a safe bet here. I think DPJ is the upside play, and I like to play with upside, so give me DPJ too. Simon's gone.
So
I was like, why hasn't he transitioned yet? Yeah. Scott Fishing here said, my personal dynasty leagues have an open auction board from the end of the rookie draft auction until the start of the season. And then Craig said, my home league has a rookie and veteran draft combined instead of waivers in the offseason. Scott Fisher used to do that. It's pretty interesting. Auction.
That's how most of mine work, where it's like it's frozen and then you have that big draft at that point. But I mean, it can kind of get wonky if there's a major move that happens. So
right.
You said open auction, so like, is it FAB or so not blind or?
I don't know. That's a good.
It sounds like you have. It sounds like the draft itself is an auction, and like say everyone gets $100, but if you want to spend some of that on waivers beforehand, you can. Which put yourself at a disadvantage for the auction part. I don't know. I find that just knowing myself, if you got me into an auction dynasty draft, I'd be dropping a hundo spot on Breece Hall every time. So like whoever the first pick is, dude, hundo. I can't contain myself. And I hate, I don't know. The rookies, the actual hit rates are so far off from what we believe in our minds that I would much rather spend all my money on one player I trust than try and play that game and end up with a bunch of Anthony Schwartz and Juju, Tutu Atwells on my squad.
Looking at these charts, I'm looking at the 1QB, or just full PPR, 4-point per passing charts, which is to me like my most standard league or most default league settings here. Some big names that have been movers from last week to this week. Josh Jacobs up 20 trade value points. Jamar Chase, right? Yeah, we absolutely called that out last week, right? As he's someone who's going to bounce back in these trade value charts, and it happened. Keenan Allen 15.5, Jamar Chase 17.5. Bump up. Marquise Brown 15.5. He was another one we called out as someone being valued far too low.
I think all of these you called out.
Every week I go over to your Reddit post and try and stir the pot. I try and get the pitchforks out. Like I'm like, this guy, let's all get him. Like at least have you noticed those comments I pop in there and make? Usually right after the show, I'm like, Josh Jacobs is way too low. These charts are terrible.
I report them, so now I don't see him anymore. So.
You've got to be blocked.
Be blocked. Yeah.
Me and the boys. Yeah. No, I don't do it in that way. And the beautiful thing about these charts is that like you don't always agree with the numbers because it's not your data, right? It's like you've collected it and you put it there. And how often the other amazing thing is you do the Reddit posts. You do come on this show. Whereas like there are people out there, some of the big wig, type networks that just put their stuff out there and you can't sit there and say, hey, what are you thinking? Why is this like this? What are your thoughts on this? Like you're available, which is it's everything really.
Yeah. Some movers on the other end of this, the negative movers, Dalvin Cook minus 8.5 trade value points, Alvin Kamara minus 10, Damian Pierce minus 9.5, Deebo Samuel, same, minus 9.5. Freiermuth dropped 8 points this past week. Justin Fields, obviously, and Damian Harris dropped 10 points. Those are a lot of the big like giant movers in the negative direction. Any of those stand out to you guys?
Damian Pierce. I know he's had 2 really bad weeks in a row, but that's a big fall for a guy who's been killing it for the vast majority of the season. I think he deserves to be a little bit higher than where he is right now. Or, you know what? I'm looking at the names around him. David Montgomery, Najee Harris, Jamal Williams, Rashad White, Miles Sanders. Maybe this is about where he should be. You know what I mean? As a star workhorse running back on a very bad team that's going to get into negative game scripts. Maybe this is a correction to where he should have been, and the hype had him a little bit too high. I saw the 9.5 points and thought it was an overreaction, but maybe the initial ranking was a bit of an overreaction.
Probably because the Texans suck. And I think teams are now realizing like the Texans are willing to just run the ball with Damian Pierce all game. So they're willing to say, hey, you know what?
Stack the box.
If that's what you're going to do. We're just going to keep stopping that. Like, we're not going to go into prevent defense mode and let you run on us. Like, we're going to dare you to do something.
Go ahead, throw.
I dare you to throw at Jordan Akins.
Get Davis Mills to throw to Jordan Akins. It's the only other name I could think of.
It's the winning recipe.
Yeah.
Trev came in here and said, no, you guys didn't answer the most controversial question. I was asking Kamara or Rashad rest of the season and this week full PPR. And so looking at their trade values here, Alvin Kamara is valued at, where'd he go? I just saw him. Tier 3, 42 points. And Rashad White valued at 24. He jumped up while they've been moving closer. So Alvin Kamara moved down. Rashad White moved up. What do you guys think about who would you rather have rest of the season?
For me, it's Kamara. Kamara doesn't have Fournette right behind him coming back from just a hip pointer.
Sniffing him.
Yeah. I mean, they have Kamara has, a miserable matchup this week. But I guess Rashad White has also a bad because they're playing each other. So neither of them I'm overly excited for. And I wouldn't make a choice until we know if Fournette's out or not. Like, I don't want to. It's too early. We don't know.
Yeah, I guess the one caveat would be that if you are like must win mode right now, like you need to win the next 2 weeks to make the playoffs. The Saints have a bye week 14, which is kind of a nightmare. So you're getting that would kind of be the difference maker that one of the guys isn't going to play the next 2 weeks, which is if you need to win both games, that's really important. If I'm already feeling really good about making the playoffs, though, I want Alvin.
The next 2 weeks are rough for Rashad White schedule-wise. He's got the New Orleans Saints this week, like we know, but then the following week he has the 49ers as well. So that is 2 of the toughest run defenses in the NFL that Rashad White's going to be going up against in the next 2 weeks. I'll roll Alvin Kamara rest of the season, and it's the Leonard Fournette news. This is not the game we were playing earlier where hypothetically he's out for the rest of the year, so it's going to be Alvin Kamara. And then I think I roll Kamara this week as well. It's a tough matchup for both of those guys, so I think I roll out Kamara.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm with you. It's Alvin.
Yeah,
that's what we got going on.
If Fournette's out, I'd be tempted to go Rashad White. I'd be tempted to go Rashad White here. Otherwise,
tempted, ever so tempted, but not actually going to do it.
No.
The other name you brought up, I wanted to get Coop's opinion on this. Pat Freiermuth dropping 8 points down into tier 7 now. Coop, I feel like Freiermuth is one of those guys who kind of separated himself from the glob recently. Like he was a player you could depend on every week. Do you think this drop is justified, or do you think he should still be viewed ahead of? The only guy he's behind is like Dalton Schultz that I may take issue with.
Now, when it comes to the tight end position, it's not like wide receiver where you can just look at the snaps, look at the targets. Like there's a lot more that goes into it. But if you boil it down to 3 things, what you need talent, scheme, and opportunity. You need the guy to be talented first and foremost. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a guy getting a bunch of targets doing nothing with him, which is Tyler Higbee. You need the scheme to be on board. If you don't have the scheme, then you end up with Foster Moreau, which we saw block on 16 pass plays the other day. Like those plays don't count. And then, of course, opportunity usually boils down to being a top 2 target on the team. The crazy thing about Pat Freiermuth is he personally has all 3 of those, right? You sit there and say, oh, we get 30% target share. We think he's a talented player. What's missing is in the talent category from the quarterback. Say what you will about Kenny Pickett. The dude has thrown 1 touchdown pass over the last 4 games. That is just not going to do it. With tight ends, it's so close in that group that the difference is usually, did they score a touchdown or not? I mean, look at even Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. The difference between those 2 dudes this week was Mark Andrews dropped his touchdown pass. Travis Kelce didn't, or else they would have had pretty much the same exact numbers. If Pat Freiermuth is not going to catch touchdown passes, then he's no different than the Hayden Hurst and all these guys that are going to catch 4 or 5 passes for 50 or 60 yards. That's why with the chart, I actually don't disagree with his value being moved down to where it is right now, because that's the perceived value across the industry, and it might not be incorrect. If you like Pat Freiermuth, there's nothing they can change for Pat Freiermuth. He's playing all the snaps, running all the routes, getting 30% of the targets. You need Kenny Pickett to be better. That's it. So you're just rooting for that, and it's kind of out of your hands. You can't blame the player here, I don't think, personally.
Blame the game.
Blame the game, man.
Blame the game. Alex, do you agree on Coop's take on Freiermuth here? That this is probably the right spot for him?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think he's well into tier 7. Like I think I trust Schultz more than him. I think Njoku's interesting with the change in quarterback. I don't know how I feel about it because I know they say historically Watson hasn't targeted tight ends, but can you name his Coop can name his tight ends. Can anyone else name his tight ends that he's played with? Like Jordan Akins, right? Like that's one, right?
Pretty much. It's like Pharaoh Brown. It's real ugly stuff by dudes. It's like, going back to like Selleck, like
Brevin Jordan. Was he on that team?
No, he wasn't even there yet. So it's pretty whack stuff. The guy that would just get concussions nonstop, that went to the Jets after. His name escapes me right now, but
Austin Stefarian Jenkins.
No, not him. It was it'll come to me. But the thing with him is I feel you on that. No matter what, next week Njoku's going to move either up or down in my rankings. Like we're going to see what it looks like with Watson, and he's either going to move way up, or we're going to see Watson just not willing to take the low-hanging fruit and dump it down to the low A-dot guys, in which case you'll see DPJ and Amari Cooper go up, right? So we'll get some answers here. It's driving me nuts. I can't think of the name of that tight end.
Ryan Griffin.
That's Ryan Griffin, exactly.
Ryan Griffin.
Concussion.
Nailed it, baby.
Forgot about that guy.
Take that tight end tickler, pulling the tight end name out of nowhere.
You're the new tight end king, bro. I'll send these shades to you in the mail.
I do not want that moniker. That's too much pressure.
You're Mr. Cool now, dude.
No. Keep the nicknames away from me. I'm done with nicknames, Coop.
Everybody gets their full God-given name.
The best thing about the Mr. Cool nickname is that with the way me and the boys use it, it doesn't actually mean that you were actually cool. Being Mr. Cool is when you were the dude that went out to the bar and got like a little too drunk and thought you were super cool, just like talking to everybody, being all sloppy. Like that's what we'd say. We'd be like, "Oh, how was the bar the other night?" And you'd be like, "Oh, it was good, man. I was being Mr. Cool for sure." Which is basically a synonym for being way too drunk. So that's why I was like, "Yeah, Mr. Cool here, dude. What's up?" Dude? Like it's not actually
checks out.
It's a great Mr. Yeah, it's a great nickname, but.
Jay Giant here had a question for us on the topic of tight ends. He said, who do you have week 13? And the follow-up question, how would you rank those 3 rest of season? So we can look at their values as well. The 3 players we're looking at are Foster Moreau, Cole Kmet, and Greg Dulcich. So in the trade value charts, Cole Kmet's the highest of those guys, sitting there in tier 9, moved up 1 point this week. Greg Dulcich has dropped a little bit, also in tier 9, though, just ever so slightly behind Kmet. And then who was the last guy? Foster Moreau. I don't even see him on here. Not enough to get valued for Foster Moreau. And I think that's fair. I don't think Foster Moreau is a tradable asset, really. Who's trading for Foster Moreau right now based on what he's been giving us and Darren Waller coming back?
If you have those 2 players, I've had this exact question asked to me both on Reddit and on Twitter. And if I have to drop one of those guys, I'm dropping Moreau. I'm keeping Dulcich and Kmet. And if you look at the matchups, Week 15, Dulcich gets Arizona, which is one of the best possible matchups. Cole Kmet gets Philly, which is a terrible matchup, right? The next week, you're kind of in a tough spot because Dulcich gets Rams, which isn't a good matchup. Cole Kmet gets Buffalo, which is a bad matchup. I think I would still start Dulcich there. And then Dulcich gets KC the final week. Cole Kmet gets Detroit, which is a good matchup. So basically, I would just keep both players, planning to start Dulcich week 15, and then you play it from there. Go with whoever you trust in the next week. And then the final week, they both have good matchups, but you're kind of feeling okay if you have those two guys. You don't need Moreau. I mean, Darren Waller could even come back and vaporize him, or Hunter Renfrow could come back, and then the targets are even more thin. So I don't really like Moreau at all. I like Dulcich and Cole Kmet. If you can keep both. If you have to keep one, I don't know, probably Cole Kmet. He's got terrible.
Really?
He's got two bad matchups, Philly and Buffalo, to start the playoffs, which is no good.
Gross.
Dulcich might be the thing with Kmet, though, is he played this past week. He played every single snap, all 57, only blocked on 2 pass plays, and he got 6 targets. I mean, 6 targets.
It's everything you ever want. That's all you need from Cole Kmet. Alex, I was curious because I was a little bit surprised. Like, Foster Moreau has been a startable tight end and someone we've gotten tons of questions about, to not see him on here. Do you see that often with like the tight end position where some of these maybe less relevant names, even startable tight ends, don't quite crack the trade value charts?
I think a lot of, in particular, Foster Moreau was, I mean, he's had 33 to 40 yards. He's been pass blocking, and he's been bailed out by weird touchdowns in the fourth quarter when no one's looking, type of stuff. Like, and I think people notice that, so that's why he hasn't crept up in the ranks. Like, people would rather have Hayden Hurst or Dawson Knox, who are seeing at least a little bit more involvement, actually involved in the game. Even if they aren't getting the touchdowns, like touchdowns are relatively fluky, right? That's not a sticky stat. So sometimes it was the same with Taysom Hill for a while, where he wouldn't crack the lineup, even though he was at the time getting usage, and then we saw it kind of go back down. Weird usage, not tight end usage. He was getting whatever they were using him for usage.
I mean, Foster Moreau, like I said it yesterday, they played 77 snaps, put up 40 points. We're playing the single worst defense versus tight end. He had 3 catches. When in the heck are you going to start that fella? Just get him out.
Never.
Get him out, dude.
Never.
Also, what about Conklin?
Conklin? So Conklin has I don't even like Conklin, but I normally don't, because he's played 74 games. He has 4 broken tackles. He's not elusive. But if we like Mike White, and we do, and if he likes Tyler Conklin annoyingly has the #1 schedule of any tight end for the playoffs. I was taking a good look at it because it's that time of year. I mean, his schedule is the Lions, the Jaguars, the Seahawks. We just mentioned the Seahawks were the best possible matchup for a tight end, and the other 2 are Detroit and Jacksonville. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, that's going to be tough to beat that. Yeah. So if over the next game or 2, they can show, if he can just get 5 targets or so, Tyler Conklin's got to be on the radar, man. So that's a sneaky one. I like that you brought him up.
So Scott Fish was coming in here with some updates talking about Deshaun Watson and his tight end. Said in 2019, his tight ends had 106 targets, 71 for 767 and 9 touchdowns. So if you just combine that all into one player, you got a good tight end. And they also said in 2020, 75 for 913 and 7. So maybe he uses his tight ends more than we're remembering. But that is going to be spread out amongst multiple players. Also, Rushman in here saying, okay, I just got to ask. Are you the famous Scott Fish I hear about on all the FFL podcasts? The one with the fishbowl? You're everywhere, so I got to ask. Thanks.
Nope.
Rushman,
no.
He's an imposter. He's a poser.
Guy,
total
Scott Fish.
Different guy.
They spell it differently.
That other Scott Fish, the real one, so cool though, right?
Oh, man. Way cooler than this Scott Fish.
It's the real one.
Boy, dude.
It is the real Scott.
And guess
It's
what?
the real Scott
Guess
Fish,
what?
man.
I can tell you, Rushman, from experience meeting him at the expo and stuff, dude, he is even nicer and even cooler than the rumors. And that's hard to beat. He's like the philanthropist of the millennium or whatever, all the awards that get poured onto him. But he deserves all of them. He's a great guy.
Dude is absolutely phenomenal. Top of the trade value charts.
It'd be so much better. It'd be so much better if I met him and I was like, yeah, Scott Fish is even cool, dude. He's kind of,
but instead,
yeah,
he's like,
I was like, oh yeah, Scott Fish is just as cool as
hype.
everyone says,
Joe, we mentioned the Josh Jacobs jump earlier, but I didn't realize quite how big of a jump it was. 20 points, making him the 4th most valuable running back according to the trade value charts. Whew, Alex, you're the one who looks at these every single week. Like, you live in these, you know what's going on. Do you expect it to, like, we're not going to get 50-point weeks from every week, but if we get 20-point weeks from him. Know what I mean? Like what we're expecting. Do you think he stays here, or do you think maybe there's a correction back down a little bit? Because he jumped ahead of Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, like some of the names he jumped ahead. It's a little bit wild, right?
I mean, I have issue with him probably above Derrick Henry, but I mean, everyone else, I don't know that I do. Like,
I'm with you.
Yeah, like how many people have had 303 yards? Like, how many teams didn't have 303 yards last week? Like,
Have the
and he did it
Broncos done it
himself.
once this season? 303 yards?
I don't think they've hit that cumulatively.
Cumulonimbus. It was very cloudy, so they couldn't really score a lot of games.
So you're saying there might be some correction, but you think this is closer to accurate than maybe it was before?
Yeah, he bounced back and forth between tier 1 and tier 2 all season. Like just ping ponging back and forth because people were like, well, okay, he had a bad week that reaffirms our priors, so they just threw him down, and then he comes back because he had another insane week. So they're like, okay, I guess we have to move him back. I mean, he's just good. He's just going to be good. He's just good.
Hashtag good at football. And if the Raiders were like, we're like an 8-7 win team, then I think that would change the sentiment as well. Because we think, oh, good running back, good team, and it moves them up. And then it's like, because the Raiders aren't playing well, that brings us down in our minds, despite him playing a ridiculous number of snaps and playing really well. So it's about time he moved on up.
It's about damn time, as our friend Lizzo would say. Get on up there, Josh Jacobs.
I figured I would mention one thing. I actually mentioned it yesterday. We talked about you yesterday, Trade Daddy. I mean, you came up naturally.
You're always in our minds.
Yeah. And anyone looking at the chart, I think this chart's important for that reason, that when you look at the tiers, the tight end position especially, it illustrates something that, we kind of joke about. Oh, Travis Kelce's in a tier of his own, and then there should be nobody in the next tier. Well, you can actually see that in these charts, and it often shows major cutoff points where it's like, personally, I think Mark Andrews should be in the second tier, but then the third tier should be empty. It should be one or the other. Tier 2 or 3 need to be empty with Travis Kelce and Andrews ahead of everyone. And then if you scroll down to tier 7, you see another major cutoff point after Freiermuth, after Njoku. And I think that's correct, because you go down to Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, Greg Dulcich. You can, when you're scrolling through these names, you can feel the trust slipping away as you get to that point. Like when you're sitting here and you're like, and you see Dalton Schultz's name, it feels like an oasis compared to that group down there. Like even if you don't love Dalton Schultz, you're happy to have him when the other options are picking from that group down there. So these are so good for visualization. Even if you're not using it for trading, you should check it out and be like, hey, I need to go out and get above this line here. I need to get up into that tier, because it's real scary now where the rest of us rapping, living.
Alex, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us today and talk these trade value charts. Always a pleasure, my man.
Appreciate it, guys. It's good to see you every week.
Guys, if you're not following our friend Alex over on Twitter, go and fix that right now. He's on Twitter at PeakedInHS_FF, and you can find the link to his all-important Patreon on there. Go over there and support him to get all the Trade Daddy goodies. Alex, we will see you next week, my man. Thanks so much for coming on.
See you.
Guys,
never say Trade Daddy goodies again.
Trade Daddy goodies. And I'll say it again tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. So come hang out with us then. There's a whole day of awesome programming right here on Better Sports Network. We've got Moose and Keith coming up next, followed by Lunch Money presented by Fantasy Guru, and then Corey, Nando, and friends there to answer all of your tough questions. Until tomorrow morning, though, we are out of here. Enjoy your Wednesday. Adios, everybody. And Mr. Cool says, keep it cool.